morning, everyone. My mouse wasn't working for some reason there, but it's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Salty Saturday morning. I am your host, the newly married Mr. Kadish. Good to see you all this morning. And joining me, as always, is my fantastic panel of nerds, starting with Matt Vader74. How you doing, buddy?
I'm here, man. It is a pretty good panel today. Actual people that know how to talk and stuff in front of a camera. It's good. I like
form words with their mouths. Yes,
talk words with your mouth. That's
form
right.
words.
That's right.
You mean you didn't take your wife's last name like a modern man?
No.
You anti-feminist, you.
In fact, when I got married,
shaved during No Shave November for you.
Wait,
That's
you mean her father's name?
Oh, that's sexist. That's
my
sexist,
favorite thing
Adam.
about that. That's a great point.
I don't know. Did Jude take your last name?
Yeah.
So she's Jude Kadish. All right.
Is it hyphenated?
That's weird.
Mr.
I
Is she referred to as Mrs. Kadish now? Is that now her a new title?
No, we
that's-
just call her JK.
Do you spell the hyphen
Okay.
or
Grand Poobah.
All right.
Jude
All right.
Kadish.
I told my wife. I told my wife I wasn't going to go through with the wedding if she didn't do it. So very old fashioned.
Now make me a sandwich.
Mrs. Vader.
Speaking of
That's right.
old-fashioned, we have our non-binary Latinx queer shield against all things woke, Brian from the
That's right.
podcast. How you doing, buddy?
Yes, non-binary, Latinx, trans flag, something. I don't.
Gender fluid.
Gender fluid.
I'm that
that's
just
the
add a
one.
phobe at the end.
Yeah, and a phobe. I don't. You pick your phobe, whatever phobe you want.
I learned a secret about Brian at your wedding reception.
You did.
That I'm not going to tell it anybody.
No, because it would screw up his intro.
It would completely
Yeah,
waste
it would
everything.
ruin the intro. Yeah, you can't do it.
We love secrets here on the Salty Nerd podcast. Speaking of secrets, the king of pineapple, the lord of the shelves, OMB Reviews. How you doing, buddy?
I hate that you mention pineapple every single time you introduce me. I'm doing okay, and I also just wanted to say congratulations, man. Wish we could have made it out there, but very happy to hear that it went off seemingly without a hitch. So congratulations, man.
Yeah, it was a super.
No,
short
he did get
ceremony.
hitched.
Yeah.
One hitch, but that's
One
allowed.
hitch.
That's the kind you want, yeah.
Right.
Vader was telling me before you guys showed up. He's like, it was the shortest ceremony I've ever been to for a wedding.
It's great.
And we were like, that was the
Well,
plan.
it's Vegas. Isn't it like, do you? Yeah, do you? All right, you're hitched.
We literally
party.
did that. We literally had the part where
Go
it was
party.
Like, "You?" Yeah.
At first, they quoted Lord of the Rings.
Yes, we
They
did.
did.
So you
Did
used
you
the
really
short
quote
Lord
Lord of the
version.
Rings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Yeah,
did.
there-
One ring to rule them.
Oh my God. Yeah, they did do that. It was really weird though when we're walking in and we're sitting down and the music playing is the Rings of Castamere.
I thought he'd come out and said, I like less than half of you more than I should.
Yeah, he could have done that too. It's crazy.
And the other,
Can you do it?
whatever the quote
No
is.
one
I
can
forgot.
do it
Yeah, I
every
know.
time. No, everyone fucks it up.
And not as
I can't.
half of you as much as you think you
Not
deserve.
as
or something like
much
that.
as half of you deserve or something like that. Yeah, or whatever. Yeah.
My
I don't
one
remember.
criticism, Kadish, is that I got there
I
a
just
little
got
late,
up.
and the position of the door means that I literally walked in, and everyone was looking at me as I walked in late. So
Well, that was on purpose. We wanted to change the
I see.
levels. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was funny because I told the DJ as people were arriving for their seats, I was like, play the Reigns of Castamere. Let's see how many people get it.
Yeah.
Only 3 people came up to me during the ceremony and said, like, why are you playing this song? This is bad omen.
I'm surprised they didn't come out and say, "Are we about to die?"
It's
This
like,
is not a red wedding.
color
Red
change.
wedding.
This is a symbol of Kadish dying inside.
Exactly.
His
Speaking of
man
dying,
Initiated for the
Tom from
uninitiated,
Midnight's Edge.
Where was that song? When does that song normally play?
So it was the famous song during the Red Wedding where basically the Lannisters murder
Oh, Game of Thrones.
all their
Okay.
enemies. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So-
Thank you.
But we got Tom from Midnight's Edge, who was sorely
See?
missed at the wedding.
I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I really wanted to be there. I'm sure I would have tore some shit up.
Oh yeah.
Well, Culture Casino was there, and I was like, oh,
In
man,
my
if
spirit,
only-
I heard.
If only Odin and Tom could have been there to be at his table. And
I finally learned his real name. It was interesting.
Bilbo.
you can't
Bilbo.
speak it.
His name is Bilbo. It's crazy.
Oh, was he alone at his table? Is that why you said you wish we were there to be at
No,
his
he
table
was
with
not.
him?
He was not alone.
He's like,
Okay.
where are my friends?
He was sitting with the kids that were drawing with crayons.
'Cause-
Hey, I tried to sit there and they said pound rocks. So
Yeah.
can I sit here and crack?
Get out of here, old man.
They're like, no.
He's like, this is the
kid
big
table."
YouTuber table.
That's right.
Yeah, Culture actually made a new best friend that night. So it was
Nice.
fun.
Oh,
But
really?
Finally got to meet his wife and all that good stuff. So
Oh.
it's fun. And the guest of honor, the man who is slumming it today. He's the host of the Adam Crigler Show and one of the co-hosts on Side Scrollers. Adam Crigler, how you doing, buddy?
Wait, what do you mean slumming it?
You're here with us.
Oh, okay. So just being on here is considered slumming it. So we're all in it together then, I guess.
You're in the slums.
We're all
nerd
in the slum
slums.
together. Yes.
The nerd slums, yes.
Sure.
So
That's
welcome
good to
back
be
to the
here.
show, Adam. It's always good to
Thanks.
have you on.
Yeah.
We
and
appreciate
congrats
your
on your
thank
wedding.
you.
Glad
We
it-
appreciate your
glad it- you
insights.
had a
Is
good time.
YouTube still bugging you? Are they still persecuting you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've been on a steady decline of subscribers for about 2 years, ever since the election. Basically, it's just been on a. I have people all the time that say, "Oh, I've been unsubscribed." My mother has been unsubscribed multiple times, and she watches my show probably more than anyone else. And she always tells me like, "Yep, it happened again. They unsubscribed me, and I didn't unsubscribe." So yeah, YouTube loves me. 12 strikes right now. I'm currently
Wow.
sitting on. Yep, 12 strikes.
That's got to be
So I
fun
think-
with your mom watching. She's all like,
Adam, baby, are you eating more? You need to eat more, baby. You looking thin. Mama needs to come cook for you.
that sound about right?
It's identical. It's uncanny.
What is it with moms? They always think you're
Very
too thin.
accurate. Yeah.
You know, some people when they hear 12 strikes would think, oh, YouTube is just being so nice to give you 12 strikes.
Yeah, just 12.
And you're not
Right.
out yet? Wow, that's
know.
very generous of them.
Well, I got lucky. I only had 2 at the same time 2 times, so I was only at risk of getting my channel deleted twice for 3 months.
So you just
at
sit
the
there
time.
and juggle it.
Well, basically, because they fall off after 3 months.
Right.
So, right. You know, I have the warning, which I just did the training. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet.
I
Where
heard
they
about
do.
Oh
that.
yeah. The training.
So
You got a
so I did
struggle
the-
session you had to go through.
Yes, yeah, that's what it is. And you have to wait 3 months. So I think January, my first warning will fall off. So therefore, I'll be finally in good standing again. And I'm wondering
Oh
if
my
that's
gosh.
gonna like change the algorithm for me. But man, was it interesting. Because they're giving you these test questions like, would this person is making a video about their experience with a certain I'm on your channel a certain thing that was being mandated for a couple years.
No.
Is it misinformation? And it's like 4 different choices, and I'm like, all of these are wrong. If I said
But-
any of these, I would have gotten a strike.
Man, that is wild to me. I didn't know YouTube sent you to the HR department. You had to go through
Oh yeah.
Yep.
readjustment training. That's crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't take very long. It's like 10 questions. It's very quick. And if you don't get it right, they're like, "That's not right. Try again." And I'm like, "All right, move the spot. Oh, it's this one. Okay, that doesn't make sense either, but sure."
Yeah, we got demonetized on one of our channels, and we've seen a decline of subscribers every month for the last 3 months, even though we're now remonetized.
Yeah, once you're on their
you-
list, I feel like once Google, because Google, I had a Google whistleblower, Zachary Voorhees, awesome guy, and he worked at Google for 8 years, and he was at Google in 2016 when Trump got elected, and Google made this statement like, we can never let Trump happen again. I don't know if you remember that. And they changed their algorithm. They went and totally changed it to basically stop anyone who was okay with Trump, which was on that side of going against the grain, going against the narrative, whatever the mainstream idea was. If you didn't think that way, you were being shunned from the algorithm, which of course famously YouTube is owned by Google. They're all the same
Yep.
thing. So I think I had a guest on, rather I was trying to get a guest on my show years ago, and he said to me, he was like, I have people higher up telling me not to do your show. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? I'm sorry. Can I swear? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
No,
I,
we're in trouble.
Well, some people don't like that, and it's
Now we're
also not good.
demonetized.
It's not
Oh,
good for the
no.
algorithm. Anyway, but I'm so caught off guard by that. I've never, because I never consider myself on the right or the left. I just am a human being trying to live my life, right? And trying to observe what's happening. I'm seeing the news lie. I'm seeing Trump actually having really good policies that help America. And I'm like, why are people hating on this guy? Like, okay, yeah, sure, mean tweets, but really, are you all that big of bitches that you can't handle some words on the internet? Like, geez. But he said that, and I'm like, okay, so I am on some list, probably from Google, probably from YouTube, that I went against the grain. I went against the narrative, and I have the strikes to prove it that they don't like what I've said. And it's interesting because of all the things that I got strikes for, it's now come out that I was right on all of them. All of the things that I've gotten strikes for on YouTube have all since been proven true and are now actually acceptable talking points that you can talk about. I mean, you can now talk about the election. YouTube came out and said that. Yeah, you're allowed to talk about the 2020 election now. But of course, medical information is still highly contained. But I know from different doctors' reports and different things that died suddenly stuff that I was also correct on other misinformation that I was labeled. So it's interesting, It feels like I'm Sisyphus, fighting to push that boulder up on YouTube. But
Well, that
They call
reminds
those
me.
vaccines.
That reminds me that we are simulcasting to Rumble and Twitch and Facebook and Twitter and Odyssey and all that good stuff. So in case we should ever disappear from YouTube, you can find us over there.
You can't stop the signal.
No, it's funny that Adam says that because that's one of the things I noticed too. Because when I was on radio, all the stuff that we could say, we can't say now. But I can sit here and go, filth, flarn, filth all day long, and for the most part, at worst, we might get what's the yellow flag, basically, or whatever you want to call it, where it's limited ads or demonetized at worst. But if we sit here and say something about a vaccident or anything like you were just saying, Adam, we're going to get flagged and everything else, and it's just ridiculous. It's like, since when is free speech, against the news? Like, I don't understand this. It's whoever is dictating what the news is. That's the problem.
That's true.
yeah, well, in Section 230, their whole argument is like, well, we're not publishers. But they're picking and choosing what is allowed on their platforms, thus becoming publishers, right? So they're voiding their own protections with Section 230. So that all needs to be reworked. I mean, we know that the government, from the Twitter files, we know that Twitter was working with the government. But now, I don't know if you saw the report that Jim Jordan put out on Tuesday. He was basically saying, like, yeah, we found out that Twitter files, that was just like a little bit of icing on the corner of the cake. All right, we know that government's been working with all of big tech, and that doesn't surprise me at all. You don't think that CIA has people in every single facet of every corporation out there? I'm talking every, not like just big tech. I'm talking everything. Big tech, pharmaceuticals, governments, everywhere, other governments, not ours, or not America's, rather. It's like they're embedded in everything. They want their fingers on everything so they can control it. So,
well, guys, speaking of controlling fingers, let's talk about our top donators real quick. Everyone who's in the chat, I want to thank you for being here. Just for the sake of time, we're not going to shout out everyone, but thank you all for your well wishes for the wedding. Really love you guys, and want to give a big shout out to William Forbus. We cited him in the chat. Welcome back, Mr. Forbus. Love you. Good to see you again. We got Scotty Dub, who gave us a $100 super chat during the wedding. So, Scotty, that was a wonderful wedding gift. Thank you so much for that. And of course, we got Bob Dorsey and the AstroNerdBoy. Thank you all so much for being such loyal viewers and such generous patrons. Like, we really appreciate you guys. And of course, Joker Voice and Mexican Iron Man, who are our most consistent donators. And Mikey, Mexican Iron Man, actually gave me a very nice speech to play at the wedding. Unfortunately, he sent it in a little bit too late to actually play it at the wedding, but I watched it and it was wonderful. So much love to you, Mikey. And of course, our top gifters, people who have gifted super chats most often, which is WG and Jillian N. Thank you guys so much. I know that our members really appreciate that, getting to see all of our member content without having to pay for it. But you guys are very generous with that stuff. And of course, our top contributor is Scotty Dub. And Matt Vader 74, we actually have a couple of super chats and
Yes.
member chats and all types of stuff. Want to go through those for me?
You just want me to pull them up?
Yeah.
All right, we'll just start at the top. Am I reading or are you reading?
Why don't you read for a change?
All right. Member chat from Joker Voice. Hail SMP and congrats to Jude and Kadish. So congrats again. We're going to do a lot of congrats today, I have a feeling. $5 super chat from Mr. J as well. Is The Marvels the worst movie from Marvel Studios? No. Will it be blamed as the worst? Yes. Love and Thunder, Quantumania, and Wakanda Forever, worst. Okay.
He's not wrong.
Nope. We'll be discussing that here in just a little bit, actually. So thank you for the $5, Joker. Yeah.
And I love it.
And nothing of value was lost.
Yeah.
Nothing of value.
Mr. William Forbus, it's nice to see you back, man. I know you've been super busy, but but thanks for all your support. We really appreciate you around here, man. $20 for Mr. Forbus. Congratulations on the wedding, y'all. Kadish and Jude both looked so happy. They did look happy. They really did. I know Alex was going off saying how beautiful his wife is, but dang, Vader, your wife is beautiful. Good job, dude. Vader is still my fave. All right. See, me and Forbes, we both got good taste. That's right. And we got some memberships gifted. Bob Dorsey has gifted 10 memberships so far. Wow.
Nice.
Hey, Bob.
Amazing. Thanks, Bob. And our dude, William Forbus, has also gifted 5 memberships. So 15. We've tripled our goal already, and we haven't even set our goal. So, guys, thank you so much for those gifted subs. We appreciate you all. It's been a crazy month. Hopefully, we'll be getting more content out here very soon. So, thank you so much.
And for those of you in the chat, we have a playlist on our channel for members with all of our members' content. So once you get those memberships, hop on over there and see all the stuff that we can't show to the public on YouTube. Lots of good stuff. We publish a new members video every Monday. And our last one was a talk about Bent Key and what the Daily Wire is doing to try to compete with Disney. It's kind of an interesting conversation.
Lots of feet too, right? Isn't
Yes.
that part of it?
Lots of Vader's feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
No,
I tried to
Get people away or get people to join? I don't get
in
it.
full 360 vision.
Adam, you don't understand how beautiful Vader's feet are.
It's fantastic.
I don't.
And they
I
are.
don't know if I want to.
A virtual tour of his delicious digits.
You guys need to stop.
I agree with that. Yeah, please stop.
All right, so let's get on with the show, shall we? So the first story we're going to cover today is one that really warms my heart. Have you guys ever heard of the website Jezebel?
Yes.
Well, the ultra-feminist, very anti-man website Jezebel has been shut down permanently.
Finally.
Yes. We have this article from Variety where basically Gizmodo, which was the network that owned a bunch of these websites, including Jezebel, got bought out by a company called Geo Media. And Geo Media basically said that the Jezebel website didn't fit into their business plan. They tried to sell it off, right? They tried to find a new home for it. And it turns out that nobody wanted this piece of garbage website because their takes are historically bad. They were very much in the corner of Amber Heard, despite all the evidence that came out that she was an abuser and all this other stuff. And basically anything that you could think of to rail against men for, this website specialized in it. And it was just a garbage website. I never went there. All their stuff was like super, super just clickbaity and terrible. And in the announcement of their closing, the people who used to work there, like the editor-in-chief and all the journalists and stuff like that, have come out and basically been blasting Geo Media for outdated like business practices. well, their whole thing was that Geo Media's business plan is based off of ad revenue, and they're part of the dinosaurs. But it was kind of funny because in the comments for this, people were like, "Why would anyone want to pay a subscription to something that they don't even want to read for free?" And it was this is like, if you can't make the ad-based business model work, how are we going to go to subscription-based? It just doesn't make any sense.
point.
And so basically, like once all the options for selling off Jezebel failed, Geo Media was like, well, we're just going to shut it down. And so like they basically laid off all the staffers who ran the website, and the website's going to be no more. So we'll see where those ultra feminists end up working at, probably the New York Times. But I wanted to get everyone's take on this. Odin, I know you were a big fan of feminism and Jezebel in general. What's your take on them going belly up?
Oh, it gives me that small sense of hope that maybe the Mary Sue will be next. Though I will say that the Mary Sue has provided many chuckles, many hearty laughs over the years. So
Yeah, they have.
Maybe it'd be a great if they're gone, but also sad if they're gone. To not be able to laugh. I feel like that's kind of how I feel with Jezebel too, where it's like, oh, but now we don't have this place to talk about and to make fun of. But I will say, I feel like over the past few years, especially, they've just lost all relevancy, because I have not even seen any articles posted from them or by them or any like reference or cross-reference to them. So it feels like maybe at like the peak of their readership, if there ever was such a thing, I guess is long gone at this point. So to me, it just sounds like they're, putting down a suffering animal by pulling the plug on it, basically. I can't say, as I said, before, nothing of value in this case too seems to have been lost. But I think that you actually make a good point, because the one concern I have is, as you said, they're going to go somewhere. Maybe it's the New York Times, but maybe it's other places. And as we all know, all it takes is just one crazy, radical fourth, fifth wave, whatever wave we're on now, feminist to take down a media company, or to take down any company for that matter. So
once the gangrene sets in,
yeah, exactly.
They're all going to end up being school teachers in elementary schools.
No.
Just wait.
Well, so
That's where they're all at now anyway.
I want to throw this to Adam, because so Adam, the business model of basically third wave feminism is just rail against men and never have any profit whatsoever, because you alienate 75% of your fan base, and then the 25% that actually tune in for that kind of garbage don't buy anything because they're cheap and they don't have any money. So it's always a failing business model to go like full feminism in pretty much any endeavor. But Jezebel's entire business model was based around just like being like really radical left-wing feminists and hating on everything that had to do with anything even remotely related to men. I just think it's funny that people keep trying to make this business model work when it just fails time and time again. We've seen it in comic books, we've seen it in video games, and now we're seeing it in news media. So what's your take on this?
it feels like the pendulum has been swinging to that in their direction, in their favor for a very long time, and it's been running on fumes for a while. And there's something that's happening, and it's not just in culture; it's in politics, culture, across the board, movies. It feels like the pendulum had stopped, and it's starting its momentum to go back the other way. That's the vibe that I'm getting, from Jezebel closing, the Panderstone coming out. Some people say that it was because of the Panderstone, and I'm like, well, I mean, I think it had started before there, and South Park, those guys are great at, reading the direction of culture, and staying ahead of the curve a little bit, or at least ahead of like the masses catching on to what the curve is, right? Because I think that there's a lot of people out there that have seen it coming, Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, like you guys, like the people who are, have their fingers on the pulse of culture. They saw it. They saw that this was a failure long before it even became mainstream. So I think this is great. I think we're witnessing the change that is needed to bring back good heroes stories. Not the Mary Sues. Right? Fuck the Mary Sues. I'm sick of it. No one becomes ultimate powered by doing nothing. That just doesn't exist. Nobody has that. All right? Sure, there's the savants, but that is just such a rarity that the average person can never understand what that's like. Right? The average person has to go through the forge of life to like come out on the other side beaten and broken, but turned in something stronger. and that's what people need to see again. And I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait for that whole ideology to burn away.
You know, Brian, you are our resident feminist. You love all things woke and anti-man, because I believe you're gender fluiding to the female side right now as we speak. But what really gets me about this is that the responses on Twix from the people who've been fired on this are all about, oh, this greedy corporation with their outdated business model. And I always find it interesting that whenever a company goes woke and then like shuts down, they're always like, oh, well, it wasn't about money. Like, we weren't supposed to be earning money. It was all about the message. But
Right.
of course, once rubber meets the road and reality sets in, it's like, if you're not earning enough money to sustain yourself, you're going to go the way of the dodo. So I wanted to get your take on this. Why do you think that feminists and leftists can't seem to understand that they have to actually like be profitable if they want to keep doing that?
Yeah, you have to earn money. Like, things cost money. Computers, servers, staff, pens, paper, whatever they used over there, satanic rituals. Those are all money costing things. It's fascinating how like the management that shuttered Jezebel were all very kind in like their closing statements. They're like, you know, I hope they find, unfortunately we have to do this, very talented staff, et cetera, et cetera. And all the extreme feminists over there were just like insanely rude and blaming them for their failure. Look, bottom line is you didn't have enough people support you. If you actually had, if there were people out there that believed in your message and your mission statement, if there was enough people, they would have supported you. They didn't. You failed. And you can blame the new owners for shuttering a failing money, business that was costing them money. You could say, oh, they should have gone to a subscription model. If they couldn't support you enough to read your articles, why would they pay? When half your clicks are hate clicks and YouTubers reading your ridiculous headlines, that's not enough. So like, we're not going to pay for it, certainly. So you don't have enough audience to, even with the hate clicks, to earn money on ads. So you're not going to get the audience you need from a subscription. They tried to sell the place to multiple people. It didn't work. Like, they had this 6-month campaign trying to sell Jezebel. It didn't work because no one wants it, because you look at the numbers and you go, well, this is going to cost us money. So what about those other feminist organizations out there that have all kinds of money, HuffPo, et cetera, et cetera? Why couldn't they buy it? Maybe it was failing so bad that they didn't even believe in their own mission statement. So I don't, what do you want? You're not making any money, and even the people that you're writing for aren't supporting you.
I know what they want. They want communism. They want
Right.
They want to take from the people who are successful to lift up their failing ideals.
Yeah, they want Marxism.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine if in the media you had a similar relationship like you do in some sports leagues. Like, for instance, WNBA never makes any money, but the only reason why they exist is because the NBA subsidizes them, basically.
Right.
Like, imagine if the media became that too, where it's like the New York Times all of a sudden now saying, well, we can't let Jezebel go under, so we're just going to start, giving this stuff out.
Oh, yes. The WNBA.
Government bailouts.
Under Bidenomics, that's just infeasible. Like, when Trump's in office and the economy's good, that'll be an option. But when things go bad,
Right.
Notice
the amount of people that are shutting down because like the economy is really bad, because you railed against the guy who was helping the economy, grow, and now the economy's crap because you got a guy in office who can't do it. Sorry.
Hey, no, it's fine. Our World Championship, WNBA World Championships, Las Vegas Aces had their World Championship parade last week here in town, and tens of people showed up. It was,
and they
I
had
didn't
to
even
be
know
paid.
that. I didn't even know that was a thing.
It was-
I've never even heard of Las Vegas Aces. That's a new thing.
It was awesome. World champion, Brian, 2 years in a row. They're almost a
look at
dynasty.
I want to look at the
Imagine
biggest
that. You
women's
shove
basketball
women
team.
into something that women usually aren't fucking interested in, and women aren't interested in it.
Yeah, it's
Imagine
incredible.
that. And that's kind of the only thing I have to say about this. Imagine shoving all this entertainment news down women's throats. Do you guys know what obviously the number one publication still in America is Time Magazine. No argument there. But do you know what is in the top 10 before Sports Illustrated even? You've got Cosmopolitan and The Good Housekeeping still in the top
Right.
10. So that tells you right there what women are still interested in, regardless of what they try to shove down their throats. You can try to shove politics down women's throats. You can try to shove entertainment down women's throats. Guess what? Women are not into franchise genre entertainment. Sure, there's the exception, but for the most part, they can't tell the difference between Star Wars and Star Trek, and they don't care.
Yeah,
They just
and
want to go see a movie with Brad Pitt in it, kissing either Sandra Bullock or somebody there like that.
Or
Like, that's
Barbie.
what they want to see. Or Barbie,
and
exactly.
judging
That's the
by those
closest
pics,
thing you can get
they
to a
want to
franchise.
drink wine while housekeeping. That's what I'm hearing.
Trying to gear this entertainment / politics news towards women is one of the dumbest endeavors ever. It's just as dumb as trying to steer all this genre entertainment towards women that they're not interested in, or they're only interested in because they can get their man up off the ass of the sofa for a few minutes to go see a fucking movie in the theater, and that's about it. Otherwise, they don't give a shit. They'd rather go see Under the Tuscan Sun. That's what they want to see.
Just
Legend of the
to add to
Blue
that,
Lagoon.
I know Christmas is soon because the TV is like hyper pressed put on the
Because
Hallmark
Halloween's
channel.
over. That's like the
Hallmark
season over.
Hallmark Channel Christmas movies are already going.
Yeah.
And I've already seen it. And there's a lot of actual paper magazine style catalogs all over the house. And my wife, that's how she orders. She doesn't do stuff online unless it's Amazon. So
Yeah, the day after Halloween, I live
Yeah.
across the street. My neighbor, who's always like 3-upping me on everything, is already putting his Christmas lights up, and I just look at him on my couch like, motherfucker, come on.
Well, Tom, I know that you already said your piece about some of this, but I wanted to point out that Jezebel was on the forefront of attacking Johnny Depp defenders, particularly like our friend Yellow Flash. They did numerous hit pieces about him, all trying to basically say that Amber Heard was a victim and all these people are patriarchal and evil for attacking her and blah, blah, blah. So do you think that there's a little bit of like just desserts to this news?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the wave is coming even faster than what Adam was kind of insinuating there, at least I feel, because we're seeing major shifts, especially after these 2 long ass strikes that they did not need right after, being shut down for how long, right? Like, they are in a situation now where they cannot afford to be political anymore. The only company that's still hanging on to this desperately is Disney. And they are in this place where basically everything to them is like Batgirl at this, or Batwoman or whatever. That show on CW that they just wouldn't let die.
And they're under attack right now, so that's not going to last very much longer either.
No.
Well, I
they've
thought
got
they were
Nelson
gonna take a
Peltz
step
just
back. From
Nelson
the culture
Peltz is
war,
trying to take
right?
over, and he got Ike Perlmutter, right?
Yeah, he's got his backing him up, and all he needs is somebody else like George Lucas or somebody to give him his voting control.
And a
And
couple
this could
billion
get
bucks,
very
and he
interesting.
controls Disney.
Yeah.
How
Brian-
wild is that?
Brian, give him your shares. It'll put him over the edge.
Hey, listen. I don't have $1 billion of shares because I would have sold it already. Yeah.
You and Mexican Iron Man.
half my portfolio is freaking Disney.
You
so
and Mexican Iron Man, combine your shit, give it to the dude.
it won't be enough.
Or at least
Literally,
buy
like a couple $1 billion of shares and one more supporter, and this man will take over Disney. And
Nice.
Ike is, I'm pretty sure, a Trump supporter, and Peltz is
You think?
like an activist conservative. Like, if that actually happens, we might see almost an Elon Musk kind of situation where
Oh, so I'll
things
give you a
change.
pass, Brian, because you probably were busy with Kadish's wedding stuff. You didn't see that Ike Perlmutter was out at a Trump rally the other day, did you?
No,
Oh, nice.
no.
Oh, yeah, he was there, and Trump's all like, we have some very, very, very important businessmen here, very smart businessmen, the smartest in the world. In fact, we have the man sitting over there, right there. That's Mr. Ike Perlmutter. Do you know who he is?
He
is
sold
the man
Marvel,
who
created Iron
owned
Man.
Marvel, and he sold Marvel to Disney. He's not too happy right now about it. They went and made it woke. That's exactly what he said.
No,
I'm going,
really?
oh, shit, yes.
We need
So
to get a
he's-
clip of that for the intro.
Look
It's
at these
true. It
hands.
happened, yeah.
Look at these hands.
Yeah, he was using the hands and
The
everything.
giant hands.
Robert Downey Jr. wishes he had these hands.
One of the smartest businessmen ever.
That's awesome. That's hilarious.
Good news.
Hey, listen, if that happens, like that'll be news. Like the boy. And maybe we start making some real entertainment again. And you know what? Maybe my portfolio gains enough money for me to finally pull out of that dumpster dive.
And put it all into Peacock.
and put it all, every penny
In
into
the cock,
Peacock.
yeah.
You guys don't get it. Peacock that's going up, dude. The second I get extra money, it's going straight into Peacock.
And yet, ironically, the Umbrella Corporation, MSNBC. So,
Fuck. Didn't think that.
Vader, what do you think of this ultra woke feminist publication going under?
Listen, I'm such a toxic woman
Is that
hater.
a flirkin? You have a flirkin.
It's a flirkin. You're gonna get a butthole shot here. Honestly, I don't remember ever going to this website. I didn't even know it actually existed. So that's how I probably have been to it, not knowing that I was what I was reading. But yeah, I looked at that channel and I said, a woke website got shut down. Cool.
I couldn't avoid it.
That was my response to this. I was like, all right.
Every one of my leftist friends during the Roe v. Wade thing was just like posting nonstop abortion.
Yeah, I mean,
from Jezebel.
I'm a dude. I go to Pat McAfee and I go to
I go to YouTube.
Drinking bros. Those are my kind of websites. So I don't pay attention to Jezebel or the Mary Sue or any of that kind of crap. So,
YouTube, Twitter, 4chan, and Reddit.
Yeah, no thanks.
That's pretty much it. That's my publications.
But
Bunch of trolls posting memes.
I've got a whole list of shit tier websites that I don't go to. So yeah, I'm sure that's on the list there somewhere. So good riddance. Good riddance. Rest in peace.
Right. Well, we got a couple super chats I want to call up here real quick. We got a members chat from William Forbus for 2 months. No to the feet, Mr. Kadish. Protect Vader at all costs. No feet.
Too late.
No feet.
Too late. Well, while he was sleeping, we actually took one of those 360 4K cameras and we mapped out every pore of his feet.
Wow.
We're gonna make a fortune off Vader.
So now there's consent issues going on here. Okay.
Look like the moon. It would be a moonscape. You have to go right down in there and yeah.
He consented one Tuesday during one of the shows where he was super drunk. He just don't remember.
You know how they do the bullet time where they have all the cameras and like full 360.
Dude, I've been seeing that. I've been seeing those at parties.
Yeah,
I've been seeing those at parties where you can get in like a 360 camera thing and it like does the bullet time thing.
We'll be releasing the Oculus VR version of Vader's feet very soon.
The saltyfeet.com.
Oh God! Don't look that up. Don't go there. That's probably a thing.
I'm pretty sure that's a domain.
Don't try that.
Buy the domain so that it just goes right to the Salty Nerd.
Yeah, we need to get that right away.
All right, and we got a $10 super chat from Mexican IO Man. Hail, panel, and hail to the great Mr. Kadish and the fair lady, Mrs. Kadish. Eternal wedding blessings of happiness. So unfortunately, Mike couldn't come to the wedding. We did invite him, and he just had some scheduling conflicts that he couldn't make work. But he sent in a very wonderful, very nice speech that unfortunately I got too late to include into the ceremony. But it was very good. In fact, if I can get his permission, I'll probably play it next week on the live stream because it was, for not being a YouTuber, it was highly produced. Good stuff.
He's a YouTuber.
But thank you so much, Mike. Really missed you at the wedding, along with Odin and Tom. So hopefully someday
Mike didn't come because there was no tacos, and Odin didn't come because there was no pineapple pizza.
Well, there was tacos at the rehearsal dinner, so he missed out on that.
Oh.
All right, we got a £4.99 film scene investigation super chat. Hey guys, great show today. Given the fiasco with Blade, would you agree Mahershala Ali made a mistake signing with Marvel? The guy is being wasted. I don't think it was a mistake for the paycheck, but I think the fault's on Marvel for misusing him as opposed to him signing with like the biggest movie company on the planet.
Right? He's got nothing to lose at this point. I mean, because he got the paycheck. And at this point, this is really hurting him because he's pretty much only ever been known for doing more like independent type movies, like smaller budgeted films. Right. So really, like, it's not like he took a step down or that he's being taken away from anything that he would have been doing anyway. So if anything, it's just going up. If the movie never comes out, hey, he's still getting paid. So at the end, it's still a net gain for him.
I feel sorry for him because he was a real fan of Blade. He really wanted to make a good Blade. And, Marvel was like, you know what? Blade's a cool idea, but what about let's have Blade be about like 4 chicks and a sassy gay guy that makes all the tech. And what we'll do is we'll get Blade hurt in the beginning of the movie, make the rest of the movie about the 4 chicks. What do you think about that? He's like, no, I don't want to do that. It's
Make
bad.
it gay.
Put a chicken in
Make it
and
lame.
make it gay.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't be so much of a sting for Disney if it wasn't so on the ringer.
Yeah.
Like every single thing they put out, you could just play that little clip. Put a chicken in, make it gay.
Every time.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like without fail every single
Every
project.
single time, yeah.
I love the original Blade.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
So
mean,
do I. I just
I would
watched all 3 movies again.
they're great. I would prefer like an old Blade, Wesley Snipes coming back, like over whatever this shit that they're doing. Or
I even like the one with
Blade in his prime. Like let's make a
Discount
good
Deadpool.
one with this guy. Oh yeah,
That was like his first real Deadpool appearance. Ryan Reynolds when he did the Blade movie.
Yeah.
It's literally Deadpool without the mask. That's what it is.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, guys. We have a members chat from Rec Films Montana. Member for 3 months.
Hey,
Thank you, Rec
Rec.
Films. Appreciate it. Haven't seen any MCU shows or films since Endgame. I don't think
Wow,
you're alone
Good
in
for
that.
you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Haven't missed much.
Maybe a
All right, so-
Spider-Man.
I watched the Marvels at
Yeah.
11:30 at night on Thursday
Right.
after Cage's wedding.
Oh my God.
Talk about a letdown. I was like, oh man, what a great wedding. Oh, we're going to see the Marvels.
Why would you
Oh.
do that? Why would you?
Because I had the show the next day. We were reviewing it.
No, that's right.
So that's the real reason Shane didn't come to the wedding. He was too busy watching the Marvels.
He was too busy watching the Marvels. He enjoyed it so much. He's really
Shame,
a cat person.
shame.
That's why.
Shame. All right, guys, this isn't a super chat, but I really enjoyed this chat, so I wanted to call it up. From Pete Dencat. Hey, Cads. I was going to say, why the heck would you want to get married? But I saw a vid from Matt Vader and noticed your lovely bride and thought, dog. I'll just say, well done. Yes, I am a very lucky man. We got a super chat or a members chat from WG for 6 months. This free member super chat will not help you stock the fridge. However, this $50 super chat
WG.
will help you stock the fridge. Yeah,
That was a really clever way to do that.
Yes, without WG, we would have nothing in our studio fridge. So we appreciate him consistently donating to the fridge fund. WG,
It's the red,
you were awesome.
the Monster Fund, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
WG,
yeah,
you were keeping a Vader fresh with diabetes. I'm very
That's
proud
right.
of you.
Indeed.
No diabetes. No diabetes.
And we also got
Yeah.
an extra 5 memberships from WG gifted. So we're now up to 20 gifted memberships. This week.
Nice.
That's
That's
amazing.
great.
Fantastic stuff. Huge. Very huge.
It's huge, just like my
Huge.
hands. They're so
Indeed.
huge.
It's so big. Yes.
So
Speaking of big,
powerful.
guys, speaking of big and powerful, Kevin Feige came out and confirmed that his Star Wars movie is no longer happening, to a shock to no one. And what's interesting about this is that he was here in Las Vegas doing promotional stuff for the Marvels because, of course, the actors couldn't be doing anything because of the strike.
And you weren't there?
I was not. I was getting married. So,
Priorities, my man.
We invited him to the
priorities.
wedding, but he couldn't come.
yeah. So anyway, Kevin Feige was asked on the red carpet to give an update about his Marvel movie, and he basically just said nothing. Like it's dead. It's not no longer happening. And in fact, this article from Bounding into Comics actually went so far as to track down some Kathleen Kennedy quotes about it, and basically said that there was never any discussion about his movie. They were supposed to co-produce it together, and there were rumors that Kevin Feige was going to come in and take over Lucasfilm, like he did with Marvel. But Kennedy basically just said, we never had any discussions. There was never any pitch. He never came in. We never met, and so therefore, nothing ever came of it. And honestly, Kevin Feige's got enough problems with Marvel, or I doubt he wants to take on the responsibility of Star Wars. Vader, what's your take on this? Do you think that this is a good thing that Kevin Feige is not going to be doing a Star Wars movie?
I mean, I'm glad it's good you came to me first because I don't, again, have a whole lot to say other than this movie was never going to happen to begin with, ever from the first place. It was all clickbait, I think, from the very beginning.
Right.
Right. He's the Marvel guy. What's he want to go do stuff with Star Wars for? I mean, I'm sure it would have been an interesting thing, but I personally never ever thought this movie was going to happen. I put it up there with the other idiot guy from The Last Jedi. We're never going to see his movies. We're never going to see this movie. There's about, well, most of the stuff that Star Wars says is going to happen never happens. So just put it in that column with all the rest of it. No big deal. There was one comment in that article of the one little piece of it that I did bother to read, where it said something about Star Wars is easy because Star Wars is just, you can put it anywhere in this theater or in this world, anywhere at all times of anywhere. I'm mumbling, anywhere at any time for anything in the Star Wars galaxy. And that's like us saying, hey man, let's go make a Star Trek movie and have it about, a couple guys in India trying to start a revolution. It's stupid, so
like Abraham Lincoln. You're like,
yeah, Star Wars movie starring Abraham Lincoln. Why? It's like, come on. Yeah. So no, this movie was never going to happen from the get-go. I think it's, at least we got a pin in it now and it's over. So whatever.
All right. Tom, you have something you want to share with the audience about this story. Is this right?
Well, if the video, no, that's the story from before. But as far as the whole Feige Star Wars thing goes, well, I mean, that was all announced back when Kathy was in really bad shape. And I think Bob was kind of trying to reconfigure things. And at that time, Marvel was in good shape. And I think they were, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were still going to have James Gunn kind of help take things over for the quote unquote cosmic side of the Marvel universe. Since we've come to learn that he was the one who basically mapped out the Infinity Saga. Yeah. So that would have made sense.
No surprise.
But when he got shit canned, all that changed. So I think that once that happened and once they realized that Marvel was headed down this spiral, any hope for Feige that he had of jumping ship over to Star Wars probably went out the window. Because we heard from multiple sources that his design was to, wrap it all up with Marvel, at least as far as he was concerned with his part of it, and then take over Star Wars after Kathleen Kennedy retired. That was what he wanted to do. And we heard that from a few different places. But at this point,
he's never going to retire.
Yeah, between her never dying because she'll hang on to this thing forever.
Also, because of adrenochrome and Satan.
Yeah, she'll make sure she's alive until she's 106.
You bathe in the blood of babies. Yes.
But yeah, are we surprised that this Feige movie's not happening? No, but I did happen to find that Trump speech here.
Adam, one of the interesting things here is that this is another in the long line of announced Star Wars projects that are basically just being shelved. We had so many, we had the Game of Thrones guys, Dan and Dave, they were announced to do a Star Wars movie. We had Damon Lindelof announced to do a Star Wars movie, Ryan Johnson, Patty Jenkins, the list goes on and on of these things where they actually come out and say, yes, we're making these. And then months later, they're just kind of on the download being like, yeah, we were just joking. We're not actually making these things. Do you think that that's a sign of a bigger problem over at Lucasfilm?
I think it's a sign of the pendulum turning around, like I was saying earlier. This is just another example of them realizing that this isn't working, and the people that the customers, the reason why they got these IPs got as famous as they did is because of the people, the customer, the ones that actually love these stories that they're now corrupting and twisting and very obviously just trying to make money on it. They don't care. And not only make money on it, inject it with an ideology. And that isn't making money. And the higher ups, you'd think that the shareholders would start pressing them for their fiduciary duties. Like, hey, you guys are clearly not trying to make money by making good quality movies anymore. The Star Wars franchise has just been so watered down. I read a tweet yesterday about someone who was watching the original Star Wars trilogy, right? The golden era, right? Of the originals, 4, 5, and 6. And he was like, it was a really sad case because suddenly I didn't care about it anymore. I didn't enjoy it. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, he was just, I no longer feel any connection to this. It has been completely killed. So even the nostalgia that was bringing people into watching the projects that did come out isn't even working anymore. So they're canning it because they're starting to realize they can't make money when they just pump trash out and hire diversity hires instead of like finding the people who actually care about the projects, that will actually care about it. You said that that guy really loves Blade and wanted to make a good Blade movie. Well, he was probably the only one on that project that wanted to make a good Blade movie,
Right.
instead of just wanting to make another movie using Blade for the nostalgia bait for the people who like Blade. And it's good riddance. This couldn't have happened sooner. I wish it did. I wish this decline in their mentality happened long ago, but I'm grateful that it's happening.
Yeah.
You know,
I
Brian,
identify with that, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you identify with a lot of stuff, Brian.
I do.
But one of the interesting things here, you have South Park with the Panderverse, and they really went hard after Kathleen Kennedy. But after Endgame, basically Kevin Feige's philosophy was the same: put a chick in it, make her lame and gay.
Right.
And like we've seen how that has basically tanked Marvel over the course of like the last couple of years, because audiences don't respond to this strategy. Like they just don't like it. And I feel like Kevin Feige putting his foot in the Star Wars universe would have, just exacerbated that thing. It would have been more of the same. I mean, we're already getting a Rey movie, and now that the writer and actor strike is over.
Are we?
Well, apparently the scripts are done. Daisy Ridley signed. They're going
Yeah,
into
as far
pre-production
as I
on it.
heard, she's signed. Yeah.
Yeah. So Brian, why do you think that they keep doubling down on this stuff that obviously doesn't
Can
work?
I interrupt? Actually, can I
Yeah, go
say
ahead.
something? This is just it's bugging me. Like men are the ones who go and fight in wars. It's not women. Men are the ones who are defending. They're the ones who are out fighting. Right? It's not women. This whole idea that women suddenly are now capable of fighting in wars is just preposterous. And I feel like the average human being recognizes that and is sick of it. Oh, that's why all this shit's failing. Well, excuse me. It's part of the reason why, but I think it's a big reason why. Because people think, all right, well, there's this big space war. Okay, cool. Oh, here comes the women's squad. Like, what? Really? They're going to send the women, not the men, because men are, shocker, stronger than women on average, right? I mean, the stronger bones, bigger lungs. Like, there's a whole shit ton of reasons why men tend to go and fight when women don't.
Yep.
Women need to be protected. Like, it's not misogyny to say that. It's facts. Look at all of human history.
It's built
we have a
into
lot
our-
of history to freaking prove
Listen,
what I'm saying.
Yes, men are generally better at violence. That is true.
It's built
True.
into our genetic code to protect
Right.
our women.
Yes, it
This-
is. Exactly.
Right.
So
And-
Yeah, when it comes
women
to
know it
fight or
too.
flight,
yeah.
Women know it also. All right. It's
Yes.
not just like a man saying like, "Oh man, a man, look at this man saying that." No. Everybody knows it. All right.
Yeah.
When we think superheroes, yeah, I think a man. I don't think of a woman. Sure, there's women superheroes. Yeah. Okay, great. Sure.
But generally speaking, when it
let's
comes
be
to
real.
fight or flight,
Yes.
more women generally flight and men generally fight. That's the way it's been for thousands of years.
And that's how it should be. Women should be protected. That's what it's about. I'm
Unless-
sorry. I just had to say it because it's
unless-
fucking annoying.
Unless you were born after 1992 and drink a lot of soy lattes, and then you might be in trouble.
Right.
Well, that's society. Those
Yeah.
humans are spoiled, fucking rotten. They don't
Right.
understand what human life was for, I don't know, thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah, I was
of
in the
people
I was
trying
in the
to
Army
kill
for
you
4
and take
years.
what you have.
I was in the
right?
Army for 4 years, and out of my squad of my platoon of like 335 people or something,
Mhm.
there were like 7 chicks, and nothing's wrong with that. They were all badasses, but
Sure.
there were like 7 badass chicks. And
You know what?
out of 300 men, there were probably about 150 badass guys. I wasn't one of them. I was like the guy who fixed things.
I
Yeah.
really enjoy watching women fight in video games where they're hot.
Right.
As you're-
Because it's third person view. That's why.
That's right.
It's
Right,
third
gotta get
person
that.
view, and,
Yeah.
and they
Dead or
have a
alive.
thong on.
That's
Volleyball.
where I like my favorite women soldiers.
all of my
The boob
Grand Theft
physics,
characters are
That's
chicks.
He gets it.
Yeah,
All
but
my
I
other
want to
questions.
I want to get back to Brian's response about
Sure, thank you. Sorry about that.
the business model here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I don't think that there is I don't think the business model is, hey, we're gonna turn, the current fans into believers of this strategy. I think the business model is the current fans are these 35, 38-year-old plus men mostly, but the next generation coming up are all about progressive values, social justice, et cetera, soy lattes, et cetera. And so they are concerning themselves with the following generation coming up, but they're leaving out a couple factors. I'm pretty sure the average age of the next generation living at home still is like 33. So that's not good. It's really going up. When I was young, the average age was like 18. It's like 18, 19, you're out of here. And now it's like,
wait.
Yeah. Now it's like
my God.
32. And we're like, can we get this motherfucker out of our house?
Yeah.
There are people going to court to try to get their grown 30-plus-year-old sons to leave the home. So the next generation that they're trying to capture, like millennials and Zoomers, et cetera, they might be more about the soy lattes and progressive change and women rah. And you're right. They're not joining the military. The military has record low numbers, right? Like their signups are dismal. So I think that these businesses are like, we are not concerning ourselves with the old fans, the fans that saw the original movies when they were 13 at the Chinese Man Theater in LA. They're concerning themselves with the kids of those people who are now entering their 20s or 30s, or even their grandkids. They're concerning themselves with the next generation of tax-paying citizens, except for, wait for it, most of those people aren't contributing yet to society because the average age of actually contributing to society has gone so far up because culture has driven this sort of entitlement participation trophy kind of reaction to everything, which means that they are not unlike us who joined the military at 18, 19 or started the job or were working at Subway. I was working at Subway when I was like 15 and a half on a permit and like trying to bang out my own way in life or whatever. And I failed constantly. I'm not saying it was a good strategy, but I tried. That generation was attempting to make their own money, make their own path, and get the hell out of mommy and daddy's house. The next generation coming up, though, is not doing that.
We all know you still live in your mom's house.
And listen, she lives with me.
I know.
Okay, yeah. That's what you keep telling us.
No,
sorry,
but
really,
what's happening is they aren't concerned with us. They're concerning themselves with the next two generations, late-term millennials, Zoomers, etc. And the problem is those people are not yet spending their own money. Like, they're just not. And I don't think they're as interested in theatric releases as us old guys. When I say old, I'm talking about like 35 plus. It's not that old. But the people that have like income to spend on toys and steel books and taking their family of 6 to a theater, and now that you're not marketing to those people anymore, they're like, I'm not going to take my 5 teenage boys that really don't give a shit about this to the theater for a free movie. You know what I mean? So their strategy is wrong. In the past, it might have been a good strategy to market to the next generation, but now this next generation is so late in actually getting their own money in their own life that they don't really give a shit. And the media and social media now is removing their attention spans, where a 2-hour or a 5-hour franchise is just not appealing to them when they're scrolling through 30-second TikToks all day and feeding their brains to the algorithm.
Yep.
I want to throw this to Odin because, Tom, Adam, and Brian have all kind of mentioned this. It seems like the strategy for Disney in general, but more specifically Marvel and Lucasfilm, has been, we have our core fan base of older white guys who have made these things successes time and time again. We're now going to ignore them and shift our demographic to women, people of color, and people who can't even shave yet. So like every time they've done this and they've tried to make movies that appeal to a certain new audience demographic, to shift the demographic to include more people, it just seems to fall flat on its face. And we're going to talk a little bit about this with the Marvels in the next segment. But the Marvels actually, on their test screenings, it tended to do well with like white men more than any other demographic in their test screenings. and yet they're still trying to move away from that demographic. How does this make? Can you make this make sense? Why do they think this is a winning strategy?
I mean, honestly, I don't think they think it's a winning strategy. I think it's because you have a bunch of activists that are now in these positions, you know, and because if you look at everything on paper, the amount of money that they've been spending, the amount of money or the lack of money that they've been making on all these projects, there is no sense to it whatsoever, unless you think, oh, they don't care about the actual money, as you know, that line from the Joker. It's not about the money; it's about the message, right? And I think that that's exactly what they have, you know, all fallen into in this capacity. Because, yeah, you just look around and you see all of the films as they've been coming out, and even going back to with Star Wars and just the acquisition of Star Wars, right? The whole premise of the entire, you know, this third trilogy, right, of the, you know, the Rey trilogy, as it was with the mindset of, okay, we bought this franchise recognizing that we as Disney are seen as a girl brand, right? We're seen as appealing mostly to women with our movies, and so we're going to go ahead and go out of our way to get things like Marvel, to get things like Star Wars, because then we can cover it all. But because there's activists that are in charge, like, because that would have been a smart business plan of, okay, now we'll make these massive behemoth movies that'll get all the men coming out giving us money, and we saw that happen in the very beginning. And then we can continue to make the, you know, animated movies and the softer films that can appeal still to the female demographic. But in the end, that's not what happened, right? Instead, they said, okay, no, we're going to take these male demographic, you know, films, and instead we're going to try to appeal to the female demographic. And so what you do is then you lose that demographic that you've just spent a ton of money trying to get access to. And then because it's activists, they've also just driven the entire thing into the ground. So it makes no sense financially whatsoever.
Yeah, I want to go back to Adam's point that he made about how like men are the ones who fight in wars. Or it's like men are also the ones who like to watch wars on screen, right? They like to watch the violence, the spectacle, the action. They're the ones who basically prop up these mega franchises because they have so much disposable income, because they're typically the bread earners, that they're the ones who will buy the books and the movies and stuff like that. You know, the collectibles, the toys. And they'll support these things when they're out of fashion, like Star Wars and Star Trek. In the lean years, when there was like no new stuff coming along, it was white guys and men in particular as a demographic that kept these things alive because they were, you know, such big fans of them. And what percentage of the fan base was women were women who were kind of pulled along to this stuff with their husbands and boyfriends and things like that, and trying to appeal to women. Because I think it was either Tom or Adam who said this, women don't like the big violent spectacles. They want the Hallmark movies. They want the romance.
They're not generally into genre entertainment. Yeah, is what I was saying.
They,
Even little girls move very quickly through what they're into, right? Like Barbie is one of the only mainstays that has been around for the last 80 years. Like you go through men's properties, they last a lot longer than women's. Like, when's the last time anybody's talked about Strawberry Shortcake, Rainbow Bright, you know, any of these other female, because women move on. They don't have the nostalgia factor that men do. They like to put themselves into the situation. They don't like to fantasize about being other people, to where men, and this goes back to like a Lego experiment they did. Yeah, the Lego study where men will try to, if you tell a man, okay, you're going to be a cop, well, then that man will, okay, well, what do I got to do to be a cop? He'll go learn everything he needs to know to be about being a cop. As to where a woman won't like that. She'll be like, well, why do I have to be a cop? Why can't I just do what I want to do? Or can I be a cop but my way? You know, or whatever you want to put it. And I'm not saying all women are like that, but yeah, it just goes along these lines of when it comes to things that are passed down generationally, women usually pass down traditions. Men are the ones who are usually, and this is why you usually get your grandpa's watch. Or you know, your great grandpa's Medal of Honor or something like that, because men are more about like passing down things that are physical and emotional that way, and that kind of plays into the same thing with, like, you know, when I was a kid, I liked Ninja Turtles. You know, maybe you'll like Ninja Turtles, so you introduce that to your kid. If your kid's a fan, that introduces it to another generation, and then that goes to the next generation. Then the next, you know, that's how this stuff normally, you know, goes down through generations. Women don't do that, right? You don't usually see women going, here, I was a fan of this when I was a kid, you might like this. No, it's just whatever the little girl is into at the time, they just bombard them with it, whether it's Care Bears, Rainbow Bright, whatever.
Well, you know, what's also interesting is like these characters that girls like want to kind of like dress up as for Halloween and stuff like that. It's always the characters who are pretty and get the attention from the boys. And so the girls are dressing up like that, not because that they are like, oh, she's a strong female character. It's because I like the outfit, I like the hairstyle, and I want the boys to notice me, type thing. I don't know if maybe I'm alone in that reading, but like that always seems to be
No. That's a big part of it too. Well, and that's what killed the Masters of the Universe brand, and that's what Andre and I've been, really hitting home with this whole Marvel thing, and the whole thing from the begin with is even take the woke aspect out of it. Just the idea of, yes, you want to appeal to more than one demographic. They noticed that with Masters of the Universe that, a large percentage of girls were playing with the Masters of the Universe brand and they were into it. Well, when She-Ra came along, instead of making it compatible with He-Man, the women's side of the toy group pissed over the fact that they finally had something that had beaten Barbie in sales, said, well, since this is a girl brand, we should be in charge of it. And they made the She-Ra brand completely incompatible with Masters of the Universe and also brought in the girls. So what boy wants to play with something that now is his sister's favorite thing, right? Like that totally turned the boys off. And also none of the dolls were compatible with He-Man. They had completely different makes and models. It was all about hair and dressing up, like you just said, Matt. They basically turned the He-Man brand into Barbie. And that's what killed that entire brand. It was the most successful brand in history. And they killed it in just a matter of a couple years. And the moment that happened is when they turned it over to She-Ra, and boys are just like, I don't want nothing to do with this no more. It was like poison.
All right, Tom, you have something you wanted to share for this.
Well, this is from South Park last year. I don't know if people even saw this because people are like, well, they went after Star Wars, but they didn't go after Marvel. I don't want to get you in trouble because it's like a 30-second clip, but like it's kind of smudgy and in a long form, so you can't really see it anyway. It's mainly just a point of hearing it.
Can we just admit this whole woke thing isn't working?
Woke thing?
I mean, it's been great in so many ways, but now it's like every movie and every TV show, it's like you can see through it now. Audiences want to be entertained. They don't want to be preached at. And if you're just doing shows and movies that have an agenda, it's like it's just going to keep failing.
Randy, what are you talking about?
Box office is down. People are tuning out. It's what killed the Marvel franchise. And just as a side note, I'm going to say it out loud. Avatar 2 sucked. It just sucked.
It did. It did suck.
Thank you.
So yeah, so like people are like, well, they didn't go after Marvel. I'm like, well, they kind of did, but they already did that in the last season. Yeah.
Well, the multiverse stuff too. Like they kept bashing the multiverse, which is a clear.
Yeah, it's still technically, yeah.
Well, we got 2 chats, so I want to get to real quick. We got Christopher Mays, members chat for 2 months. I'd rather watch Hallmark than Disney now. Good stuff.
Sorry, Hallmark. Ugh.
Well, they got talking
Hallmark,
dogs and stuff.
Yeah,
at least Hallmark's family friendly.
pretty harmless over
Not
there.
so much anymore. Yeah. And we have a $10 super chat from the Joker's Voice. Marvel teased the Young Avengers throughout Phase Bore. The Marvels confirmed it with the cameo of Kate Bishop. There is the young audience plan. So you think they're going after Gen Z? Is that their strategy?
Zoomers unite.
No, they got to get jobs first to be able to spend some money. So
You have a very minimal crowd that has zero history or attachment to the history of these franchises.
And no money. And no money. And no interest in collectibles or toys. Like, they don't give a crap.
And also, anyone who saw that would have been like, who's that? Because that would have required them to have watched the show on Disney Plus, which many of them did not do.
Right.
Right.
Yes. R.I.P.
Did
Echo.
you guys see the new Heroes He-Man stuff? Masters of the Universe crossover with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
no,
Oh my god.
that sounds like something Tom would like, though.
Yeah, it sounds sort of cool.
No.
Oh, no.
Sorry. It was
Is
The
He-Man
Motu
making out with
crossover?
Leonardo? That's what's happening, right?
Okay, like the
He-Man
toys
and
look
Leonardo are going
weird,
out now.
but there is like, I don't know if they're doing a comic book
Did you see the
crossover or
toys?
what.
The
Yeah, the
they're,
toys
like,
look
pastel.
awkward. Yeah, but I seen some art where they had them not in like the crossover form. And if they're
What?
doing like a comic book, I'm like, I'm totally into this because the art is not them crossed over. It's just He-Man on one side and the Ninja Turtles on the other. And
Is
the
it
Ninja
this,
Turtles.
Yeah,
Is
the
it this-
artwork looked awesome, but
Yeah.
all of the figures were just
The figures are kind of
hideous.
weird. Yeah.
Just hideous.
Yeah. Well, real quick, guys, we got one more super chat to get to. Wrecked Films Montana for $10. Okay, so with all the new stuff basically sucking, I'm rewatching old stuff like Voyager, SG-1, and my physical media library is extensive. What are the things people on this panel are revisiting?
Supernatural.
Oh yeah.
That's my current revisit. But I revisit something new every couple months.
I just watched the Police Academy series again.
Oh, that's great.
That's a great series. Yeah. Love that series.
I've been going through movie franchises. Like right now, I'm in the middle of the new Planet of the Apes movies.
I'm in the middle of Saw right now. I'm on Saw 6 or something.
Well, I literally shut off Police Academy 6 to come be on this show.
Oh, wow.
City Under Siege. It's one you can walk away from, you know.
Yeah.
My wife and I have been watching Veronica Mars, which is a great show.
Also,
Veronica Mars is great, actually. I really like Kristen Bell.
Yeah.
I mean, her politics are whatever, but she's a fun actress.
Yeah, she's a funny actress. I really like The Good Place.
Oh, The Good Place is literally one of my favorite all-time TV shows. Like, expertly made.
I agree.
Fantastic
Well, the
show.
ending.
As far as TV shows,
yeah, it was a good show.
I've been watching Miami Vice again too, and the Rockford Files.
Good
You
stuff.
go way back.
Older shit, yeah.
I don't do
Kojak.
I don't do anything anymore like pre 1990.
I don't have Kojak yet. I'd like to get my hands.
I can't handle the audio pre 1990. It's too
All right, guys.
tinty.
Speaking of things that we can't handle, let's start talking a little bit about the Marvels. In particular, how much of a disaster this is being projected to be.
Well,
long story short, the Marvels is probably headed for the worst MCU box office opening ever. And Thursday, they only made about $6 million in previews. I don't know why they're calling them previews, because technically they're releasing the movie on Thursdays, but whatever.
Yeah.
Thursday.
They keep dropping the projections. So originally it was going to be like 90 million, then 80 million, and 75 million. Now they're like, well, if it gets to 60, 65 million, that'll be in our projections. And now they're saying like, they'll be lucky if it hits 50 million. And this is kind of like a combination of things. I think a lot of it was the lack of promotional stuff from the actors leading up to it. A lot of it was how bad Secret Wars was leading up to it. Obviously the failure of phase 4 and 5 up to this point, with just, their core demographic of men tuning out of this stuff. And just the track record of Marvel movies up to date hasn't been very good. Like, coming off of Quantumania, which was like a crappy movie. And Brie Larson just in particular is not likable. Like, nobody likes her. So I actually think that like it'd be hilarious if it actually came in much lower than 50 million in terms of its opening weekend projections. But I want to throw this to the numbers man himself, Odin. Odin, you've been tweeting about this, and you even made a video about it, about the numbers behind these projections. Why don't you give us a rundown?
Yeah, the reason why I am also very happy to see this is that Schadenfreude, right? Is because even the people in the mainstream media, like Tony over at Deadline and the people of Variety, are having to admit that this is going to be, on paper, the worst opening in the entire history of the MCU domestically. And it's funny because a bunch of them still continue to ignore things like inflation. But what's great is that even without inflation, it is still on paper likely to be the worst opening, because up to this point, the lowest opening weekend domestically ever for any Marvel film was The Incredible Hulk, with around $55 million. And this film right now projected somewhere between 47 and 50 million right now. So this film's going to come in well underneath that. What's even more funny about that is when you look at the ticket sales, because people don't like inflation, that would be equivalent if the film gets it to like 50 million domestically. That's the equivalent with the average ticket price now of about 3.8 million tickets for its opening. Go back to Incredible Hulk, that was 7.7 million. Go back to the first Thor, 8.2 million. Go even back to Ant-Man 2015, 6.7. Even Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania, 8.1. So we're talking about a movie that's several million tickets less underneath where some of the lowest films in the MCU have ever been. So it's not even that this is the lowest, it's by quite a bit, right? Wow. By a sizable margin. And they're still coming out with this number saying they think the film's going to get $140 million internationally. I don't exactly know how that works because, for instance, the Hollywood Reporter has at the end saying that the international is pacing towards 60 million for a global start. But if that is the case, then we're looking at it being a little over 100 million globally. Just as a reminder, for the first Captain Marvel made 190 worldwide. So yeah, I mean, this is a catastrophe in pretty much every single way. And they still spent, I think they spent 250-ish on this. They got a tax credit, so technically the budget's like 220. So you're looking at this movie as likely to be probably the biggest box office bomb of the entire MCU and one of the biggest losses of the... I mean, there's a lot of films right now fighting for biggest loss of the year because you got Dial of Destiny up there, you got The Flash up there, but this film's also going to be up there too as far as biggest financial bombs of the year.
Yeah,
Fighting
depends on
towards,
how it
like-
falls off. Yeah.
like, I want to be the worst movie of the year. No, I want to be the worst movie of the year.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
That's right.
Adam, I want to throw this to Adam for a second here. So I think the Thursday that this opened, it took in $6.6 million in previews. I think at least a good 3 million of that was just YouTubers going to the theater to review this movie. And you've been pretty vocal, and I was too, on Twitter about just saying, like, guys, don't be spending money on this movie to review it. Just sneak into the theater, do something. Do you think that that all the attention from these YouTubers is actually going to help this movie?
No. No, I mean, I get my entertainment from these crappy shows from the Fellowship, right? I mean, people aren't spending their money on these movies. You know, it's like it's like the internet streamers or content creators are jumping on grenades for us all.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch
right.
that movie. I don't watch that movie, but I'm happily watching everyone make fun of it and nuking it from orbit. Like, I'm fine with that. Like,
I will
you
say
know
they
what?
are
Fine.
benefiting a little bit because
Good.
they are.
Job security's great.
Well, no, not the
Nowadays,
YouTubers. I'm talking about Disney.
Oh.
They're benefiting from the free advertising, and I'll tell you why. Because I specifically ran into somebody the other day. I went to go get something to eat at a diner, and some people who know me kind of know what I do. So sometimes they'll talk about movie news and stuff when they see me. And this one lady who was taking my order said, "Oh, isn't there a new Marvels something or other coming out today? I don't know. My son usually wants to go see the Marvel movies, but he didn't say nothing about this one." I'm like, "Yeah, there is." She goes, "What is it?" I said, "Well, it's the Marvels." She's like, "That's what it's called?" She's like, "It's just the Marvels." I'm like, "Yeah, it's the sequel to Captain Marvel." She's like, "Well, that's just stupid." So there's people who aren't even aware of this movie yet, is basically what I'm saying. So in a way, the YouTubers are kind of still advertising it, but to the audience that already knew about it. So it's very minimal.
I think
Right.
Adam's.
Exactly.
I think Adam's. We're jumping on a grenade for you analogy is almost perfect. You know, I
Well,
mean,
it is.
I haven't jumped on a grenade. I'm not going to with this movie.
I also don't advocate to buy tickets for
Yeah.
a different movie and go in. That's all you, Kaddish. All right.
That is me. Yeah.
That's the razzle dazzle.
But speaking of someone who
The
has jumped on
razzle.
the grenade, there's one person on this panel, one who's actually seen this movie, and that is Brian from the Popcast. Brian,
Odin saw
oh,
it,
you saw
too.
it? Okay, well, there's two people on this. I want to talk to Brian about
Do
it.
your research, man.
Two grenade jumpers.
Brian, what was your take about the Marvels?
It's not a good movie. Now, I'm gonna
That's
give it.
Very
I'm
good.
gonna,
Good take. Great job.
I'm gonna give a little more here. It actually wasn't as woke as I thought it would be. I thought it was gonna be like ultra man-hating woke or whatever, right? It wasn't really those things. I guess when you have like when three of the leads are various women, then you don't have to go that far. Because it didn't have like the insane woke stuff that like previous Brie Larson movies have had. But the movie itself wasn't very good. That mechanic you saw in the trailer of them switching powers, like you think, oh, that's gonna be a big part of the movie, right? It's not really. It's not very important. It is like the reason they connect and get together and go on this adventure, but they don't actually pay off that mechanic. That's like the one interesting thing about the movie was for me was seeing how that they would use it in that mechanic. And there's a couple cool fights where they use it, but for the most part they don't. In fact, by the end of the movie, when they're facing the bad guy and Brie Larson has that, the most generic response ever about like you're not going to get away with this, some nonsense. Like the little girl Kamala is literally trapped by discountwish.com version of Ronin, and perfect timing for you to use this mechanic that you've been showing us all movie, and then it's like they just forgot that this weird mechanic existed at that point. It was very odd.
They had a whole training sequence, in fact, with
a
it.
whole training sequence, and just completely forgot that the one unique thing I've ever seen from your franchise is right there, and you just forgot it exists. At that moment, if I was in the writers' room and they're like, okay, we got discount Ronin, she's gonna smash Kamala, I'd be like, okay, guys, hey, remember, we got the swap mechanic, have them use their powers, and all of a sudden Bree's now there, and whatever. But they didn't do it. They did. I don't know why. It's such a cock tease. I'm sitting there. I'm like, why aren't you doing this? It's so obvious. This is the payoff, and they don't pay it off. It's so stupid. The cat thing was used the first time, cool, funny. Then it was really overused, and then all the Flurkins are eating people or something stupid. And the most disappointing Flurkins.
That's what the cats are called. The other aliens.
That's what the cats are called. The cats are Flurkins. They're aliens.
Yeah.
And they can gobble people up because they have a
pocket
black
dimension.
hole inside of them or something. I don't know what science behind it. It's really weird.
Are they powered by black girl magic?
Black girl magic. And so they use the Flurkins to get people off the space station because they have the Flurkins eat up everyone. It's really stupid.
It's easier to transport a bunch of cats than a bunch of people.
I guess you're right. And then the most disappointing thing, though, to me was not the movie. I'll be honest. It was the post-credit scene, man.
Oh, yeah.
That was so disappointing. It was so disappointing.
Was the
Monica
leak right?
Rambeau
Was it really
ends up in a hospital visiting her mom. Remember, her mom was like, no one remembers, by the way, because no one watched WandaVision. There was no real setup for this. But her mom died during the blip, during the Thanos snap, right? Of cancer. But now she's in another universe where her mom's in the hospital or something. I'm foggy on it. Most important thing is Beast from the X-Men universe shows up. But it looks like PlayStation 2 graphics. It's it's all CGI. It looks it's monstrous. It's so bad. It's Kelsey Grammer's voice, but maybe they couldn't use Kelsey Grammer because the strike or something. I don't know, dude.
I think what else is bad. Go ahead, Doden.
I was going to say the only thing I could think of with that one too is that, and that's why I was also very disappointed by the post-credit scene, was because some of the best makeup that they've done, I feel, was actually Kelsey Grammer's.
Bingo.
In the X-Men trilogies, right? Or sorry, in the X-Men films.
Practical makeup was perfection.
Practical, and it was very good. And so, either one, he was not willing to go into the makeup. Two, it would have been too expensive or would have taken too much time. Or three, there's some other stupid reason why they decided to go with CG instead.
Well, Shane mentioned that it looked a lot like the 90s, X-Men, the X-Men cartoon version, but CGI. And maybe that's why. Maybe they're trying to capture that nostalgia. But dude,
or it could have just been it was a last minute thing that they tacked on to this movie.
I watched every episode of the X-Men in the 90s, and I didn't even catch that. I just saw bad graphics. That's all I saw.
Yeah, I think it's pretty telling though when most people are talking about the terrible credit scene than the actual movie itself.
Well, what the problem is now is you've got James Gunn who came in, and regardless of how you feel about the whole DC situation, he dropped his nuts on Disney's face right now because he's trending and Marvel's isn't.
It's great.
Why? Because he confirmed that even with the strikes, Superman is still coming out on the date that they initially said.
Still going full force. Yeah, they were still building. They're still building sets.
So that just tells you how piss poor this is done. And I said it right on Twitter too. I said Kevin Feige was right about Captain Marvel. She is the strongest Avenger because she managed to do what Thanos couldn't: destroy Marvel.
Yeah.
And the Avengers.
Well, I want to throw this to Matt Vader. Speaking of bad stuff, when the reviewers actually got to see the movie, there was an embargo period, but you saw all these Marvel simps coming out and talking about how good the movie was. It's pretty unanimous that the actress who plays Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, kind of was the highlight of the movie. But a lot of people were kind of pointing at the Rotten Tomatoes score because originally it was rotten. but then it hit like 60%, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's fresh now. It's fresh. It's fresh."
There's been tons of shenanigans.
Then the audio. I'm getting to that. Then the audience score gets to like 80%, and we had these articles come out about how Rotten Tomatoes scores are manipulated, and people start diving into the audience scores and found a lot of sock puppet accounts where they'd never reviewed a movie before, and all of a sudden they're there giving it 5 stars. And a lot of people are comparing it to Flash, because the Flash critic and audience score is almost exactly what the critic and audience score is for the Marvels. And we all know how the Flash turned out in terms of like its box office success. So do you think that there's some shenanigans going on here with like how people are advocating for this movie?
Well, I think there always is, especially on Rotten Tomatoes. There's always going to be shenanigans over there. People who want to, they're going to fake like a movie, whether they want to say it's bad or not. And those are the people that are going to go on there and actually put scores in. You know what I'm saying? I don't leave a movie and immediately go, "Oh, I'm going to go put my YouTube or my Rotten Tomatoes review." I don't ever do that. So I think people, first off, just to do that, they have an agenda to begin with, to go post something on YouTube, right? Most of the preferred critics, they're all paid shills. We know this. They couldn't review a good movie out of a paper sack. But the best part for me is these reviews. These reviews are turning into shenanigans just upon themselves. Alan Inge over at Film Threat had a really normal, kind of heartfelt review. It seemed very honest. He didn't like the movie, and he explained why. And that dipshit movie slob went on there, and you saw that, right? That tweet where he basically mocked Alan in his review.
I saw that.
This is how we're reviewing movies on YouTube by the pros. They're mocking each other on their
is Movie Slob Movie Bob or who?
Movie Bob, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Flickman or whatever his name is. If you go to Alan's Twitter, scroll down.
I heard something about it, but I didn't see it. Yeah,
it's pretty funny. So yeah, I don't.
Oh, fuck Movie Bob.
Rotten Tomatoes. Nobody takes it seriously anymore, and we every single one of us on both sides of the culture war use it to manipulate, to prove our points one way or another. It's like, oh, the critics said this about this one, and then when the critics like it's another one, we're all like, oh, critics like this one, it must be woke. So there's no winning over there. Go to criticlist.com and post your own stuff, guys.
And that's what's so funny. I'm glad you mentioned Criticlist, because like the reason why Tomato Meter is so broken is because if you look at the top critics, right, it drops all the way to 42% rotten, and the average rating is a 5 out of 10, which would be in that decent category over
like
on
60%.
Criticlist.
Isn't that a D in school?
Again, that's not a passing grade. That's definitely not a passing grade. But then you jump over to the all critics, and then its top critics are only 57. All critics is 266. So clearly you have a bunch of people that have been given access to be reviewers on Rotten Tomatoes, and they made this a big thing several years ago, saying we want a more diverse, so if you want to apply, you can only apply once a year, but we'll make exceptions if you fit one of these like diverse categories and appeal to an audience that's underrepresented. And and also, but the numbers is they're only 5.9 out of 10. So it's like, wait a minute, how is it that we're now at this point where this is considered fresh when your score isn't showing that?
It's funny because I saw some. Did you see my retweet of that woke idiot who was going off about how the movie was being review bombed or whatever in some respect, or however they were putting it, and they put all the demographics up of how many women and people of color that there were as far as critics when Captain Marvel came out compared to now. And I'm like, okay, so you just proved the point that even with more diverse critics, because there was like 10% women critics now compared to like 2% before, and like there was like 8% of color compared to like 4% before. I'm like, so you just proved that this movie sucks because you have more diverse voices now, and they're still giving it a bad rating, right? So they were trying to make this big, long, convoluted excuse about the whole thing, about there's still too many white men reviewing the film. I'm like, but that still doesn't make up for the fact that it's getting a shitty review, right? Like that's the whole point, is that the critics are now even saying this movie sucks, right? Well, and I think the audience review, I've already had a couple people tell me that it wouldn't accept their 1-star review. So it's not accepting like under a certain percentage of reviews. So the audience score is way high. It's like in the 80s or whatever it was last I looked.
Yeah, I just realized why Salty Nerd can't get a Rotten Tomatoes critic thing.
Because we say the truth.
Yeah, but no, but for like 3 years, you guys are trying to do this, right? You're not diverse enough, bro. You need to be non-binary like me, and they will accept you.
Well, you're part of the show, so we need just to let them know that you're on here.
Next time, I'll apply as the non-binary, Latinx, gender fluid phobe.
Well, speaking of that, guys, give us a rating on Apple Podcast, hopefully 5 stars, because we need at least 200 of those just to apply to be critics over on Rotten Tomatoes. But in the meantime,
they're gonna see 3 white guys and they're gonna be like, no.
Yeah, check out criticlist.com, because if you want a true gauge of how good a movie is, this is the website to go to. They're not sponsoring us anymore. That was an October thing. We're legitimately recommending them because it's an awesome website. It's definitely worth checking out. Odin's addicted to that thing. It's like hooked up to his veins.
I'm setting up my account literally when I get back from this vacation.
And Mr. Cadish still has not put out like enough reviews for me.
I was getting married. Okay, I was getting married.
This has been an issue for weeks, man.
I'm setting up my account on Tuesday, and I'm gonna start banging out reviews every day.
But just to give y'all a mindset too, right? Because I think some people, when they hear us talk about this app and everything, they might think like, oh, well, it's gonna be a bunch of your friends. It's like, well, obviously we have a lot of people that we know that are on there, but I think that the best way to show it is there are people that have reviewed Captain Marvel who gave it positive scores, and they completely explain why they enjoyed the film. And that's what's so great about it is that it really isn't an echo chamber unless you're just for free speech. Like, there are people where there's films on there that, I and others might be known to like hate, where they're given positive reviews by some of the people on there, because it's not just people that are in the culture war stuff. It's also people that are just regular, everyday, normie audiences too. And that's what's so great about it is that you really do get a good combination of things.
The only thing everyone agrees with on there is that speech should be free. Period. The end.
Yeah,
there you go.
But I want to finish up this talk about the Marvels by throwing it to Tom one last time. Tom, if this movie is the box office failure everyone's projecting it to be, how do you think that's going to affect Disney and Marvel going forward?
Well, I think we finally have seen rock bottom here. I mean, how much further down can they go? I mean, this is opening, like we just said, like Odin pointed out, in the range of like The Flash. So it's not looking good for them. The last few movies have tanked. The only movie that they've had that's been a hit in the last year has been Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's only a modest hit at best. I mean, we could probably sit here and go through the numbers with Odin and say, yeah, it's maybe made a couple bucks, through video on demand. Yeah, that's probably some money in their pockets, but that's about it. At the end of the day, they have not profited on an MCU film since Doctor Strange, and that's where the audience figured out, oh, these aren't movies that are sequels to each other. These are sequels to other movies and TV shows that I don't have the time to watch. So I'm going to check the F out. In fact, there was even a trailer that I saw that basically informs you that you have to have seen Captain Marvel, The Avengers, Endgame and Infinity War, Miss Marvel, WandaVision, and I think another show, just to watch the Marvels and know what the hell is going on. Even though I guess they did finally get smart enough to do a recap in the beginning of this. Script Doctor had informed me of that.
Really?
I'm like, oh, now they're doing that 30 movies in? Said it's a little late. Like, that's the problem here is you have a situation where movies cannot stand on their own anymore, where I can't go in. The only movies that they've had in these entire franchises where you can go in not having seen a bunch of other crap was Guardians of the Galaxy. Basically, as long as you had seen the first 2 Guardians films, the Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, and the Christmas special, you were good to go. That was your only required homework going into Guardians 3, really. Mm-hmm. Sure, there was some Thor stuff in there, but who gave a crap, right? Like, that, whatever. Or that was in the Thor stuff, but you don't need that, right? Like, that's nothing to do with the Guardians, really, at the end of the day. So you don't even have to have seen Thor Love and Thunder, and you're not missing anything. But that's a problem, is you cannot even go into these movies being a fan of just one of these franchises anymore. And hopefully they figure that out, but it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like they're getting more convoluted. They think that Deadpool's going to pull them out of this funk they're in. They're reconfiguring everything. I will be surprised if we don't hear the Kang Dynasty's changing, because they got to figure out how to get out from under that rock now, because Lord knows they either got to recast or just write him out. And it sounds like it almost like they could have at the end of Loki season 2, even though I didn't watch that. See, that's another thing. I haven't watched, I have no time for these stupid shows. I've only gotten through one entire Marvel series on Disney Plus where I didn't check out.
They're so tough to get through.
They are.
I mean, it's just and like it's sad when the best part is to me because there were parts of Loki season 2 that I liked, but it was only because of one person, and that was the character of Obi of Ouroboros, played by Ke Huy Quan, who is a short round from Indiana Jones. I love him. He's just one of those guys where you're like, I like him. I don't know why.
Disney has hired him twice, but didn't think to put him in Indiana Jones.
I know, right? It's like,
are you friggin' kidding me? And I've said this a million times. You can take the exact same plot that we got in Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny. If you take out Fleabag and insert Short Round into that movie, it makes it infinitely better.
Yep.
20 points.
Infinitely better.
Well, because it actually makes sense, because you'd have Short Round who has like a grudge on his shoulders because Indy, let's say, dumped him in a kid's home back in the day, right? You can even have that stupid Toby character, whatever it is that she has dragged along with him, and that kind of gives him the reason to go, oh, I can't have, this is why Indy did this, is because, I can't be having a kid dragging him around the world and getting him in trouble. But that would make sense, is like he learns through the course of the film that instead of selling these relics, that's what Indy was doing, was saving them, right? Like that plot can still be there. All that can still be there. The Dial of Destiny part was crap, but whatever. I still say that people would have been like, you know what? It was better than Crystal Skull had it been Short Round instead of Fleabag. I think people would have been more accepting.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're 100% right. I actually liked season 2 of Loki. I thought it was way more sci-fi than season 1.
I enjoyed it too, but I didn't understand the ending. It was kind of over my head. I dive into it a little bit more.
I didn't watch it.
Of course you didn't.
It's good. It's good science fiction. I mean, however you think about the Marvel universe.
Real quick, guys, we got a members chat from Danny's mom, Penny, for 7 months. The Flurkins and Macaulay Khan were the best part of the Marvels.
I
don't
Penny,
know about the Flurkins, but
I would say the cats are objectively cute. If that's what I think, that's what she might mean.
I'm sorry. Is that Kamala, right?
Yeah. Kamala Khan.
Yeah. She was great, by the way. I actually feel like I said before, I feel bad that like this person who is clearly talented and very excited to be a part of this universe is tied, to these horrible, characters that are dragging her to the bottom of the ocean, like a chain around.
I mean, I don't go after any of these actors unless they give us a reason to go after them for. Brie Larson put the hate on herself. I mean, there's a lot of actors in the MCU that people love. It doesn't matter if they were in the MCU or not. I mean, everybody loves Robert Downey Jr. Everybody loves Chris Hemsworth. Sure. Everybody loves
Don Cheadle,
Scarlett Johansson. Most of these actors that people go after, they basically ask for it.
Rachel Zegler.
You know what I'm saying?
Daisy. Yeah. No one's hating on Daisy for being Rey. No. Right? They're hating on Disney for making shit Star Wars movies.
You know what's great about that Brie Larson connection too, right? Is what is she most well known for talking about another massive flop, saying, this wasn't, Wrinkle in Time wasn't made for you, right? If you're a 40-year-old white man, it wasn't made for you. Well, guess what? It wasn't made for anybody because no one saw it. And sure enough, Marvel's also, no one's seeing it.
Yeah, and a book that came out 60 years ago. Like, what a stupid thing to say.
Right. I mean, there's a reason that they're trying to get Robert Downey Jr. to come back to life.
Oh, he's coming back, bro. He's coming back.
That movie will make $1 billion because people like my wife will want to go see it probably twice.
Yeah, everyone will want to see that.
You know what? And that's what they lost. So that is what it is.
I heard Phil Coulson's coming back in that movie too.
Guys, we got a $5 super chat from Drew D. Why doesn't Disney learn from themselves? Frozen had a $150 million budget and did $1.2 billion in sales.
But isn't that kind of just cover what we just talked about with the Robert Downey Jr. thing? I mean, maybe they're trying to get through this cycle. They can't be that dumb, right?
$150 million is too high.
It's still too much, though.
I mean,
even though they made it back on that, that's still like that. That's the thing is when you, especially even go back to some of the earlier MCU movies, you're like, these budgets are still way too high for what we got. I mean,
Well, we're going to look back at this time period in about 10 years from now, and we're going to say that this thing with superheroes almost ruined the movie industry.
Yeah, but Tom,
for a while it
also almost has ruined the comic book industry because all of this MCU.
Oh, that was already ruined.
All of this MCU shit started before they did it in the movies. The movies just skipped 4 decades of comic book stories and went
Right.
straight from the Avengers to the MCU stuff, which we all told them. Everybody told them, don't do this because you're not going to sell any fucking tickets. Because
Oh,
it's
you're
all woke-
100%
it's
right.
all woke
And there's
MCU.
Well,
data.
that's the
People aren't
downfall
buying
of
those
it.
comic books. Like they
But-
have in numbers to know that people don't care about those characters.
What I'm referring to is the budget side of things. And we're talking about before you take the woke equation out of this, and Odin will probably know what I'm talking about here, is you had the situation where we're going to look back at this and take the woke out of the equation. What you had was a moment in time where superhero movies were the biggest thing ever. It was like people figured out how to make Star Wars and just multiply it, right? Like, because, everybody tried to do what Star Wars did after Star Wars. They couldn't do that again. Nobody could.
No.
But with superhero movies, you found you can do that. Like, they could do that. You have Spider-Man, you have Batman, you have all these other characters
And it
that
was
work
formulaic.
within, and it's formulaic, so it all works. So for a while there, these movies were, and right now, I think still, Endgame is considered the highest grossing film of all time if you don't consider inflation or ticket sales. That being said, what had happened is superhero movies have ruined every other kind of movie now, right? You can't make a Mission Impossible anymore without it costing $250 million, just like a superhero movie.
Right.
All these action franchises cannot keep up with the superhero films without spending that kind of money. And on the other side of this, it has ruined it to where we cannot have movies that are original things anymore. John Wick is one of the last true original things we had that became a franchise, because we live in a world where there is no movie stars anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you go back and you look at the year 1988, you had the movie Die Hard and Roger Rabbit came out, but neither one of those two were the highest grossing films. Does anybody else on this panel know what the highest grossing film of 1988 is? And I pulled this movie out for a reason. It's not like I randomly picked that year. Nobody knows. The movie was Rain Man.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
You will never get a movie like Rain Man again. Why? Because there is no movie stars. Because you can't take a concept like that isn't a franchise and just plug 2 movie stars in and say, go, and people will go see it because they want to go see those 2 people doing that, right? Unless it's attached to an Indiana Jones or a Star Wars or a Marvel now. The studios are not interested in that. Rain Man would be cast with Joe Blow nobodies and end up on Hulu now. Right? That is the problem we have here is you cannot make a movie anymore for less than $150 to $250 million, and you can't trust a movie star to just sell a concept. The last closest thing I can think of was Ryan Reynolds when he did that Free Guy movie. Right? Like, and even that barely came close to being successful. And Ryan Reynolds is one of the few guys you could argue is maybe a movie star. But look at that.
Sure.
All the guys that we could consider movie stars now, Chris Pratt, Ryan Reynolds, all beyond that, are all older. None of them are in the 20s to 30s at all. They're all in their 40s or above.
What about that Chalamet guy? The
Tim
Chalamet
Chalamet,
boy?
he's the only one who's looking at, okay, we're going to have to wait and see how his next
that
few
guy.
movies do, right? Like, that's
Wonka's
what I'm
not going
saying.
to be a huge hit. I don't
Even
think.
Henry Cavill
All right.
is not somebody you can say is a movie star. But yeah, anyway, I got off on a long tangent for $5. You got your money's worth, Drew.
Yes. And we have a William Forbus super chat. Thank you, William, for $20. I appreciate Odin's take on Criticless. It's very movie fan / normie focused, not paid reviews. Thank you, Salty Nerd Podcast, for partnering with Criticless to promote a great platform. I use it to find out if I watch something in theaters, as do we. We really like that Criticless app because it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Really enjoy that stuff. Vader, do we have anyone over on Rumble that has been in the chat?
Yeah, we've got 31 people over there. I'm not sure how many of them are real people, but we have our we have our regulars. Man, like it's actually quite a chat. I've been ignoring Chappie's over there, Dane Flats, Xandar, a bunch of other people I can't read. They got really weird names on over there. Oleo.
Because half of them are not.
Is there a King Kane Rumsky over there?
Half of them are AI generated names.
Yeah. But no, really good group over in Rumble today. One of our biggest ever. And I think that's probably Mr. Adams doing. So
big shout out to all the people over on Rumble.
Hit the follow button over
there, guys. But let's finish up today's Salty Saturday by talking about this news that just came out. It's that Warner Brothers have shelved their Coyote versus Acme movie. And this I'm gonna combine this with the news of the SAG strike reaching a deal, because I think that they're actually kind of connected. But for those of you who don't know, Warner Brothers just announced that they are shelving this movie called Coyote versus Acme. It starred John Cena, and the movie's done, right?
Yep.
And by all accounts, it was a good movie. It was entertaining. It wasn't like a Batgirl situation where it could hurt a brand, right? And basically, this is a movie that cost $72 million to make. John Cena is like the lead actor in it, and they got a couple other kind of big actors in there. But everyone on Twix has been going crazy over this announcement, bad mouthing David Zaslav and all the WB people, and saying like, Warner Brothers keeps destroying these things and it's unfair to artists and blah, blah, blah. But I couldn't help but notice that this announcement came pretty much right after SAG announced that they had reached a deal, right?
Yep.
And I've been looking into the SAG strike deal, and one of their things is about royalties. And basically the thing is that under the new SAG strike agreement, basically you double the royalties that the top actors in the movie are getting paid. So it's 100% of royalties. And then 75% of that goes to the actors involved in the movie. And then 25% of that gets distributed amongst SAG members and stuff like that. But basically you're doubling what these big name stars in movies get in terms of the back end on these films.
That's interesting. I didn't know that, because I do know that they just had a new person take over animation. I don't know if you were going to mention that.
I was, but under this new SAG deal, like if you have a big name actor like John Cena in your movie, and you've already spent
I'm sorry, big name actor like John Cena.
John
Cena.
He's big in China.
But so you have this actor, and the movie is already north of $70 million, and it's meant for streaming. Like there's not going to be a big theater audience for this movie, right? So at some point, the economics under this new SAG agreement just doesn't make sense for this movie. So rather than try to, make money off of it and end up losing money, they're just going to take the loss to begin with and get the tax write-off for it, so that they
$30 million.
in some way come out ahead. And this is like one of the unintended consequences of the deal that the actors struck with the studio, because on top of that, there's also new royalty fees for writers as well under the new writers agreement. So my guess is that some bean counter looked at this movie and said, under these new deals that we've just signed on to, this movie, instead of costing $75 million or $72 million, could conceivably cost $150 million. And at that point, there is no path to profitability for a movie like this. So I want to get the panel's take on this. I'm going to start with you, Adam. Do you think that the backlash that Warner Brothers and David Zaslav has been getting for shelving movies like this and Batgirl and stuff like that is warranted?
I don't know. I do politics and science, and I view
And
the
Bigfoot.
culture stuff. Yeah, and like ancient civilization stuff. Right. I view this culture from a distance. So I don't know. I don't know much about the industry enough to feel like I can add any weight to this, because I don't like John Cena. But I grew up watching bunch of Wile E. Coyote. Yeah, I never understood him. I mean, and I liked wrestling. I back when I was a teenager. It was like when The Rock was first coming around and becoming like a thing, and Undertaker was my freaking G.
Well,
Adam, Attitude Era, man.
Adam, I want to get back to you to get your thoughts on the actor strike. But before we do, Tom unfortunately has to bounce. So I want to get his thoughts on this and then where people can find him. So Tom, the floor is yours.
I think he said he got on a roll, meaning that like he's sorry for having talked as much as he did.
Yeah, I was talked out. I shouldn't say anymore. Actually, I literally just ran to go take a piss when I hear my name.
Hey, Tom, we was there.
No, like I'm not how sure they were along with this movie, but I didn't know that part about what you just brought up, Matt, because that's interesting to hear. Because look, I mean, I knew when they started going down this path of David Zaslav coming in and cleaning house, because to kind of give people like quick idea as best as I can kind of surmise what or sum up whatever thing that happened here. You got to remember, Kilar come in after AT&T bought this place. So basically it was like, you know, these people who bought this house started buying a bunch of crap for this house, and then they ended up having somebody else come in to help them because they couldn't afford all this crap they bought for this house. And now these people are coming and looking, well, we don't need 3 dishwashers, so let's get rid of 2 of them, you know, and we don't need 2 jacuzzis, so let's get rid of one of those. And that's kind of what's happening. And, you know, sure, some of us don't want to get rid of that extra jacuzzi. It's kind of nice to have it, but we're going to lose some things because they got to get rid of some of this shit to either A, save some money, B, save some face, or C, like I was saying earlier, they do have a new animation director in there, so maybe they're going in a completely different direction, and this is something that they don't want coming out because it either sets something else up, or maybe it covers ground that they want to cover in something else. Because just like 2 weeks ago, they leaked some animation from this upcoming Looney Tunes movie, which will be the first ever fully animated Looney Tunes movie in history. I know that's weird to think of that, but if you stop and think, Looney Tunes Back in Action, Space Jam, all those movies were live action and animation mixed, hybrids, and all the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movies in the past were literally just, you know, the old Looney Tunes shorts with new footage in between. So this will be the first time they ever release a completely, from beginning to end, 100% fully animated Looney Tunes film. And maybe this is something they want to, because the concept of this movie is Wile E. Coyote is suing Acme because the shit don't work, right? So the concept is funny, and James Gunn also is one of the writers on this. So that's where it's kind of like, wow, they're actually shit canning it with James there. That's kind of bold. But that tells me that they're either A, like what Matt said now makes a lot of sense, or B, this is ground that they want to tread later on down the road in their new Looney Tunes universe going forward, and so they just don't want to finish this off. Or maybe they may not even be done with effects and stuff, and they may be saving some money that way too. Like if the principal photography is done, they haven't finished all the effects or anything like that, then shit, they might be saving 20-30 million bucks that way too on top of it all. And at the end of the day, the tax write-off is only going to be like $30 million. So there's got to be reasons beyond that. So,
well, Tom, thank you for that analysis. Where can people find more of you?
I'm exiting.
Well, you said you had to go.
I said I had to pee, man. I had to pee.
Oh my god!
I thought you were having.
I already pissed my pants, man. It's too late.
Too late.
Okay. Back on the Zaslav thing, real quick.
I'm sitting in it.
Go ahead, Brian.
I think I agree with Tom, but I also the royalty thing is interesting because they're saving they're getting a $30 million kickback, right, or tax write-off. A lot of people on Twitter are talking about how why are they, just writing movies off to get money that way when you can make that money back? And I'm like, first off, they're not getting money from the government. They are saving money on taxes, which means that someone did the math over there and they added in the royalty thing that Kadish was talking about, probably with the new strike deal. And they added in what it cost and how much marketing was going to be and all the stuff that goes with that. And they go, we're going to lose $120 million, or we can lose $50 million. Someone did the math, got that spreadsheet out and figured out the most profitable way forward for this movie, given the new deal, is to just kill it. Now, people saying, oh, well, it was a good movie. It was testing well. Remember, when all the Batwoman Sims came out, they said the same thing. People really liked the movie. Who did? Like the director and the writer was like, yeah, it's a great movie. Yeah, I'm sure they loved it.
Yeah, of course the people who worked on it. Yeah.
Yeah. The people that worked on it loved it. I'm sure they did. That doesn't mean we haven't seen it. So there's no way for us to confirm that. Remember the Space Jam 2, when that came out, you had all these quotes from celebrities saying how great the film was.
It's not even a movie.
It's not even a movie. It's like a giant commercial
for LeBron
James. Right.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst. My own kids were like, that was boring, Dad. And I'm like, what the fuck? No one, look, just because the people that worked on it or the studio or the paid critics, I'm sorry to say, that's a real thing, are like, hey, I saw a screener and it's good. I saw one of the testing was good. People really liked it. That doesn't mean shit. I think that David Zaslav and his people saw it and they go, "Hey, man, this has got the LeBron James Space Jam 2 stink on it. What do you think?" Well, realistically, we can make this much money. Okay, so what it costs us this? Like, yeah, so it's going to end up costing us after marketing, and now the double royalties, blah blah.
Yeah.
$155 million and 75 cents, sir. And he's like, "Fuck it, right off." I mean,
I think Brian's right. I think Brian's 100% right. I think adding that notion to it now that you said that, Matt, I think that's what happened. I think they're like, we cannot afford to put this movie out.
Especially because it was going to be a HBO, or I should say a Max exclusive.
Originally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, man, I really wanted to see this movie. I didn't want to see Batgirl, but I kind of wanted to see John Cena do the.
I do too, but
I'd watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How dare things are going to have to get sacrificed. Yeah.
How dare they?
I want to go back to Adam. Adam, the biggest thing in Hollywood has been this actors' strike for God knows how many months. And basically you have a bunch of Marxists there demanding, more money so that they can continue to give to causes that get people less money, especially the people paying
continue teaching everyone how to be moral people.
Yeah. So what was
their
what was
version
your take,
of morality, right?
Yeah. What was your take on this strike finally ending and the actors basically getting everything they wanted?
Did they? I don't
Pretty
pay
much.
that much attention to it.
Pretty much.
What I hear is like filtered through Nerdrotic when we're like setting up the show on Sundays. So, yeah, I feel like it was a net positive for people, right? Because what has these writers been putting out anyway, and all this strike, all it was just kind of a break from the bullshit that they were putting out. So good. Oh, cool. They got what they wanted. Great. My life didn't change at all. In fact, it was nicer because I didn't have to deal with the crap shit that was coming out. And I saw a lot of people going back and reviewing older movies, like talking about like the great movies of the past, and like now them coming back. Holy shit! Do they have a lot of people that have now been reminded what good movies are, because there was such a lapse that they were going back and getting to the backlog of movies that may have missed, or movies that they truly peaked in like just what a good movie was. So now when they're going to come out with new movies after the writer strike's over, or the acting, the whole strike is done, man, they're going to have to compete with the newer, I don't know, not like the epic verse, but like I can't think of any new studios that are out there that are trying to break through. But I think that independent media is on its way up. Like we were talking about it earlier, the death of the movie star, right? There's no movie stars anymore because everyone's on the internet. Anyone can go viral. Anyone can become a famous person. All it takes is just the right timing and the right project that will just skyrocket you to the top of the internet. The internet is really the king. It's the hive mind of the human society now, and that's really what creates the superstar.
I want to throw this to Odin. So Odin, with the actors getting this new deal and the writers getting their new deal, I think part of the unintended consequences of this, especially in a time of runaway inflation and high taxes and all this other BS, that we're actually going to be getting less content. And you've seen studios saying like, hey, we're going to be producing less movies. We're going to focus on quality over quantity now. Now that everything costs like twice as much as it used to. But the actors basically chose the worst period of time to go on strike with this economic downturn. Then they got these sweetheart deals, which I guess are just in another 3 years, we're going to be having another strike or something like that. I don't know. But it goes a little bit further than that, right? Because I mean, there's only so much money that these studios have access to. And now that they're paying out actors basically twice as much as on the back end that they used to, and they're having to do like there was a provision in the SAG agreement for gender affirming care for actors, right? Like if an actor wants to transition, then the studios have to pay for that thing that the actor is doing. So like there's all this like weird stuff in here that I think are going to have a lot of long reaching unintended consequences to entertainment going forward. What's your take on that?
I'm more interested to see when we look back at this at 10 to 15, 10 to 20 years where studios are, because I think that there's a good chance at this point that this is the kind of like the high point of like the start of the end, basically, right? The beginning of the end. Maybe we could date it back a little bit further, but ultimately you look at what happened with this Roadrunner movie. What's going to happen with all the other films that are set for digital release now? You know, are any of these other films going to have less money be put into it for marketing to try to make up for the fact that they have to split the revenue this way? Are you going to have other films get canned altogether? And what kind of cost does that accrue? So you already had streaming services that were struggling, right? All these studios struggling tremendously with a lot of these, with a lot of the cost. So now they have just reduced their profits. They've added in these, as you mentioned, really stupid provisions about so-called gender-affirming care. So it seems to me like they're just going to be spending more and more money, and it's not going to end well. I really don't think it is.
It will not.
I agree with that. And you know who else agrees is Bob Dorsey for $5.
Mm-hmm.
But he asks, what about Sound of Freedom? Low budget and good story. Made a ton of. It's probably the most profitable movie of the year, actually.
You know what's funny
That's
is
like
if
$5
Disney,
million to buy it back, right? It was like $5 million.
yeah, I was going to
So the
say they
company that
actually
bought
took a
it
loss on it. Yeah.
So the company that bought it made an insane amount of money on that movie.
Yeah, but the funny thing is like if Disney had actually released it, it wouldn't have been so successful because it wouldn't have got the attention it did. They probably would have buried it on Hulu.
They would have buried it on Hulu, yeah.
Yeah, so at this point, it was like that's something that I hope Hollywood takes note of between that and Taylor Swift and some of these other things.
Taylor Swift teaching them how to make it work.
Well, we need some more original entertainment that actually is good and people go see, and you know, it's going to take a few of those and more Marvel movies to bomb before they realize that we can't afford to be spending this kind of money on all these movies all the damn time and expect them to bring in $1 billion, because that's really what they're doing at this point is they're setting themselves up for failure every time.
All right, guys. Well, we had a lot to talk about today, and we talked about it. I want to thank this fantastic panel of nerds for joining us, and everyone in the chats. I want to thank you for being here. OMB Reviews. Where can people find out more about you, and do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
You can check me out over at OMB Reviews on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, Twitter, Critic Lists, all the places. And I appreciate it for doing also OMBReviews.com. You can find all my information kind of centered there. And as far as final thoughts are concerned, oh man, this weekend's going to be a lot of fun for the box office breakdown because, oh man, so many millions of dollars going to be lost from the Marvels.
And Tom Connors, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Well, I did have that Trump clip if you wanted to show it. Otherwise, I'll share the link in the chat. But I will be on Pop Culture Minefield here in about 40, 50 minutes. Talk about
Gary.
RoboCop.
Tell Gary I said hello.
Geary.
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 Is RoboCop happening now?
It's a video game, Brian.
Oh, we're talking about the first movie, but yeah.
Fantastic movie.
Oh,
I heard the
working on it,
series.
though.
Yeah, I have a contact at Amazon that said the series is tied directly to the Stargate revival. They're the same.
Well, I've been
team
hearing
working
some
on
bad
both.
news about that, so stay tuned.
That's what I was-
RoboCop. Bitches leave.
You've heard the same thing I did.
And we want to thank our special guest, Adam Crigler, for slumming it here on Salty Saturdays with us. He is so much more important than anyone else here on the panel. But we appreciate him. We appreciate him taking time out of his day.
Yeah.
Adam, where can people find more of you? And do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Well, I didn't know that you lied to your audience, so
All the time, dude. All the
it's not
time.
cool.
That's what we do.
I do a podcast Monday through Friday on Rumble and YouTube called The Crigler Show. On Monday, I have it's called Bay Staff Monday. I've got a lot of a great team that joins me: Quarterblack Garrett, Darth Call, Flawdzilla, George the Giant Slayer, and Andreas Exertus. And we have a blast. It's always a lot of fun. And then Side Scrollers, I join on Wednesday, which is just noon Eastern time, and that's a lot of fun with Stuttering Craig. And Blabs and Flawdzilla actually now joins us, so that's a lot of fun. And then every Sunday night, I have Forbidden Frontier with Gary from Nerdrotic, Quarterblack Garrett, and X-Ray Girl, where we talk about ancient civilizations, UFO technology, different dimensions. We just dive into the deep end to the Forbidden Frontier, and it's a lot of fun. So definitely check that one out. And my final thoughts is the thumbnail is a lie also, because I didn't watch the movie, so I couldn't actually say if it was bad or not. But
Well,
Yeah,
the
I have
box
a great
office
time.
was bad.
Thanks for having me on.
Guys, definitely check out Adam's show. He is a great commentator, and his stuff is always interesting. And we appreciate him taking time out of his day to come on our show. And we got a quick super chat for $2 from Eric Weinberg. Thanks all. Good show. Thank you much, Eric. Brian from the Popcast. Any final thoughts?
Hey.
And where can people find more of you?
You can find us at, our main channel is The Popcast, youtube.com/The Popcast. Our live channel is The Popcast Live. Twitter, Popcast Guys. And I guess Popcast.co still goes somewhere. I don't remember. We got a big Voyager doc coming out pretty soon. So
Nice.
Stay up for that. And every Friday at 10, we do our live show. So
Awesome. Now, Matt Vader 74.
Yeah.
What's going on in the Saltyverse?
I have dude, I have no idea. I think we have the Seven Samurai coming out soon, right?
Well,
I think that's all we have in the can.
Because of the wedding,
Yeah.
Alex didn't have time to edit the Wedding Singer review, so hopefully that'll be coming out tomorrow.
There we go.
Then next Sunday, we're going to be releasing our Seven Samurai review, which is the retro we watch.
Yeah.
Beginning of that should be good. I don't know if we're doing.
So who's
going to
have the bad take on this one?
Oh, you'll have to tune in to see.
Lord.
Should be good.
We're all about the bad takes. Are you talking about Seven Samurai?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I couldn't even. Well, we'll see.
Of course, Matt.
Before I leave, I just want to say thank you to all you guys coming on to the panel today. It was really a good group, and I like this kind of group because when Tom's here, I don't have to talk. It's awesome. I love it. It's fantastic. And I'm not a good talker anyway. I stutter and stuff a lot. And so, Tom, thanks for coming on. Odin, you as well. Brian, I wish we could have done this in the studio today.
Yeah, it would be fun.
You're stuck in your hotel, but we'll do that next time. And Adam, thank you so much, man. I'm a big fan of yours.
Correction.
I want to
Motel.
I really want to get together with you, me, and Alex and talk about ancient civilizations and UFOs someday.
Yeah, so do I, man. That'd be awesome.
I love that stuff.
So do I.
So
that's
I know.
I was looking you up, Adam. That's my favorite thing you do.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, I just want to say sorry I couldn't make it out to Vegas, but on behalf of Andre, myself, and Mikey, congratulations.
Thank you.
And
it's okay, Tom. You can come to a second wedding.
You have much. Yeah. If you have another wedding anytime soon, I'll be there.
Will do. But I want to thank all you
Isn't
guys.
Isn't your second one half price in Vegas?
It is.
Yeah. Well, no, everything's more expensive in Vegas the more you do it. So anyway, we want to give a big shout out to everyone who gave us super chats today. William Forbus, The Joker's Voice, Mexican Iron Man, Film Scene Investigations, Rec Films Montana, WG, Drew D, Bob Dorsey, and Eric Weinberg. Thank you all so much for your support. It really goes a long way, and it does mean a lot to us over here because Alex is very dependent on your support right now, and we want to keep him and his family fed and a roof over their heads. So that's all good. But thank you all so much. And be sure to tune in next Saturday, same salty time, same salty channel for more Salty Saturdays. Until then, stay salty, my friends.